Over a lifetime, there are only 4 or 5 moments that really matter. Moments when you're offered a choice to make a sacrifice, conquer a flaw, save a friend, spare an enemy. In these moments, everything else falls away. The way the world sees us. The way we...
If he goes to jail, he dies.
Might not be our problem.
Why?
Daredevil Born Again had a horrendous start. Season 1 damaged so many characters in so many different ways, ruined major payoffs in the original show, undermined thematic elements in the original show, and delivered a legal plotline so bad, you'd think that Matt Murdock failed the bar exam. I recommend watching my video on Season 1 if you want some useful context to better understand my breakdown for this season, though it's not absolutely necessary. As far as I was concerned, that was it for this version of Daredevil. There's no going back, and with the release of this season, Daredevil stays dead to me.
Daredevil, I'm so sorry.
Last we saw Daredevil, he came to the realization that he needed to build an army to take back the city.
We're gonna take this city back, Karen.
Where we start?
We need an army.
The first episode opens with Daredevil operating on his own and not having gathered an army. He starts going after the Northern Star, which Fisk is using to smuggle weapons. He has 2 clear goals in this plan, one being to send a message to Fisk, the other being to try proving that Fisk is smuggling weapons.
You definitely sent Fisk a message.
He's using the free ports to smuggle arms. We get the message out there that the mayor is running guns.
So what's next?
Proving it.
The way Daredevil approaches this doesn't remotely follow up on his plan to build an army, and with the prior information we have about him, he's very much capable of doing so. He worked with the Defenders to take on the Hand. Has he not contacted all of them already about Fisk? Have they never tried reaching out to him upon Fisk becoming the mayor and creating the anti-vigilante task force? How many people did Daredevil actually try recruiting? You'd think with how many vigilantes are in the city, they would have shared Daredevil's interests and tried standing up to Fisk. You'd think after Daredevil was willing to die for the rest of the Defenders and his city, that they'd go out of their way to repay him.
Matt said something before he told us to leave. He said protect my city.
Think of how many lives you saved. And the one we lost.
What has Spider-Man been doing since Fisk has become mayor? Why didn't Daredevil try to track down Spider-Man and recruit him to his army? Not only is Spider-Man very powerful, but he fought with the Avengers, so you'd think that any prior heroes who have worked with him might have a connection with him or personal investment in helping Spider-Man. You'd think Spider-Man might try reaching out to some of these people, considering they could help take on Fisk. Not to mention that Daredevil has worked with She-Hulk, who is related to one of the original 6 Avengers. If Matt tried to call She-Hulk and even used that connection to put Fisk on the Avengers radar, then this would very quickly add leverage to Matt's side. This would send the message that Earth's mightiest heroes are keeping tabs on him and will stand against whatever he does.
Your mess is my mess. I'm not going anywhere until this is finished.
If Matt believed it was vital to prove that Fisk was smuggling weapons, imagine if he had Captain America using Red Wing to record evidence of what's happening. Imagine if he had She-Hulk take on the guards, which would send more of an intimidating message given she's related to one of the original 6 Avengers. This is a way better plan if Matt wanted to send a message to Fisk in the city and actually build the army he said he needed, but he never entertains this. Not a single person in his group thinks of this, so the damage extends beyond his character. Even during the mission, Daredevil doesn't think to maybe gather evidence while he's there to stop it, because if he just beats them up and leaves, this opens the opportunity for them to delete evidence. It's not like he's working with a private investigator as well, who specializes in collecting evidence. If he really wanted to avoid the possibility of deleting evidence, then he should have at least talked about gathering proof before doing this mission.
So what's next?
Proving it.
You see what I mean? The fact that Karen doesn't even know what's next after Matt exposes the smuggling tells me that they didn't discuss how they'd gather evidence before sending Matt to attack them, which is crucial considering that leaving the scene gives them the chance to delete evidence once they know Daredevil is onto them. Why not record what's there when he arrives on the scene? He doesn't even need to beat anyone up to do that. Why not go to the security room first and use their tapes as evidence? Was his plan to just beat them up and tell Fisk that he's onto them?
That was the most moronic plan I've ever heard.
That doesn't do anything because Fisk knows this. Daredevil was fighting his task force in the season finale. Matt's attempt to expose Fisk here and send a message out to the public is extremely incompetent, and that's not even addressing how badly he performs in this fight. Daredevil is known to be smart and cautious when entering fights. He knows he's vulnerable and uses his skill to make up for being outnumbered.
How about I just smash our way in?
Because they have weapons, Jennifer? Stealth's the way to go, okay? Trust me, I've done this a million times.
In this scene, Daredevil is a huge idiot. He takes out one goon, senses a few more, and instead of doing doing something smart like sneaking away and trying to split the group up, or even trying to take out the lights so they can't see, he decides to jump right into 3 armed guards that are rapidly shooting at him. That's not intelligent. This makes Matt look stupid and reckless. After he does that, we get some really choppy editing that is trying to tell us that after attacking one guard, Daredevil tries escaping from the rest by swinging away. Daredevil wouldn't have to do that if he found a way to split up the group or reduce the light in the room. He also doesn't need to physically be in front of them. He can just use his billy clubs to surprise attack them. And again, this is something he thought to do in She-Hulk, but I guess running headfirst into fights is what he does now. By the end of the fight, there's a boatload of people who died in there and only Daredevil made it out alive. So instead of being even mildly empathetic, haunted, or regretful for the fact that he indirectly caused everyone in there to drown, he smiles for the camera like he's happy about what just happened, which is strange to me because Matt's empathy still extends to criminals.
Really, you never think for 1 second, shit, I just killed a human being.
Why didn't you stop him?
I'm sorry.
So seeing him smile after a bunch of people just died because of a plan he went with seems uncharacteristic for him, because he didn't know any of these guys, and the little we do know tells us that they're doing this because they're forced to follow Fisk's orders. Matt knows that not everyone who works for Fisk does so because they want to. Some people are forced into this life and don't believe they have a choice. That doesn't make it right, but that doesn't make their deaths worth celebration either. So that's the end of the boat sequence. You want to know how much time has passed since the season 1 finale?
I have been in a cage for 6 months.
6 months? You're telling me that 6 months after Matt declared that they need an army, he didn't reach out to anyone who could help build his army? Not even a single call to She-Hulk, who is not only bulletproof, but has direct ties to the Avengers. And you're telling me that during these 6 months, nobody tried to overthrow Fisk. Hawkeye has a video of Fisk doing some pretty incriminating stuff. Is that still being ignored? What about Sam Wilson? Does he not realize that the Anti-Vigilante Task Force is a major detriment to superheroes in New York? And since this takes place after Brave New World and Thunderbolts,
The world needs the Avengers.
so why don't you help them stop the Anti-Vigilante Task Force? Wasn't Spider-Man an Avenger? Sam would have remembered that Spider-Man helped defeat Thanos, and how he saved the multiverse. Wouldn't you want him to be an Avenger? And as someone who had to go into hiding for years because he stood against unfair legislation against superheroes, surely the new Captain America would have the understanding and motive to take down Fisk's empire.
A great many people see you as heroes. There are some who would prefer the word vigilantes.
Not to mention that Sam helped the previous Captain America overthrow Hydra and expose all of its corruption within S.H.I.E.L.D. He doesn't care either? Okay. What about the Thunderbolts, I mean the new Avengers? They're already acting as vigilantes in that movie, and this resulted in them being appointed to the new Avengers by Valentina. I guess an anti-vigilante city is allowed to appoint a team of vigilantes, and they can even have their own building too? If the reason is because they're officially appointed by Valentina, then why don't they officially appoint Daredevil and other vigilantes onto their team? They have leverage over Valentina because they know about her crimes, which means that Valentina can't just deny their decision to recruit Daredevil.
We own you now.
And she doesn't even have any personal beef or history with Daredevil, so it's not like she has a reason to reject Daredevil onto the team. Why haven't the Thunderbolts overthrown Fisk? Not only is Fisk obviously a crime lord, and anyone with half a brain would know this, but he's sending an anti-vigilante task force to kill other superheroes or vigilantes. What if Fisk tries to double-cross them like Valentina did? Bucky should be very understanding of New York's situation as well. He had to go on the run to try stopping Zemo, partially because of the Accords. You're telling me that he didn't care to overthrow Fisk either, even though he has political power and connections? Does nobody care about anything in this universe? Remember when Ant-Man tried to help Captain America stop a group of super soldiers from possibly taking down an entire country? Surely he'd help if the next Captain America tried to call for his help. Why hasn't the Punisher tried to chop up the task force? He escaped at the end of season 1. Surely he'd want to lower the numbers, or kill Fisk.
Next time I see you, only one of us walks away.
This entire plotline already doesn't make any sense, and the world building for the show is so disjointed. If I can't buy into this world or its characters on a basic level, then how can I be invested in how the season plays out? Or the final tipping point that gets Fisk exposed, which we'll get into later. I also think it's really stupid that Daredevil and Karen thought it was a good idea to set their hideout at Josie's. You know, a place that Matt and his friends regularly went to, including ones that don't even know he's Daredevil yet and would have no reason to withhold Matt's friendship with Josie. Josie. Anyone associated with Matt would be a suspected accomplice of Daredevil. That's the exact reason Matt wanted to keep his distance from Foggy and Karen in the past. He was afraid that merely associating with them would put them in danger, yet he doesn't realize that the same risk can apply to Josie. And as expected, her bar eventually does get broken into later in the series. I also think it's just lazy to have Matt and Karen together again from the jump. Not only were we never shown Matt splitting off from Heather, but we're also never shown Matt and Karen reconnecting on that level, which is something Daredevil Season 2 of the original show tried to do to make the relationship believable. They tried to build up to it instead of just tossing it on us like this episode does, especially since Karen left Matt for a really long time.
Show the city, show Albany who he is, and he will be held accountable.
This seems to be the angle the show will take, but after how many times this has been done already, and the ways in which it has been done, exposing Fisk for who he is starts to lose meaning. They tried this in Season 1, and while they had to try again in Season 3, this was facilitated by Fisk manipulating an FBI agent into a deal by using his unique circumstances against him, while using his lasting connections to law enforcement to his advantage. Even then, he was under heavy restrictions, and most importantly, he was still hated by the city. And in Season 3, Nadeem submitted a dying declaration where every word of it was submissible. The FBI agents flipped on Fisk, and his strategy was caught onto by the city.
Well, the state of New York isn't gonna make the same mistake. Everyone knows his game now. Fisk won't manipulate the system again.
Not to mention that Hawkeye had a video on him and he was a wanted criminal in that series.
He's not here. He's gone.
So why exactly should we expect Matt's plan to make sense here? Why would Matt think that exposing Fisk again would be the end-all be-all? I'm not saying he has to necessarily kill him, but Matt knows that he could use his connections and skills to pressure Fisk or his enablers into giving up.
What do you have on her?
A tape! It's a tape! Oh, God.
Tell her to get herself excused from the jury. Personal reasons, whatever it takes. After that, she never sees you again.
He'll kill me.
Then you better leave my city. Tonight. Well, I couldn't do anything to help that little girl. But I could.
You touch your daughter again, and I will know.
He spent the next month in a hospital, eating through a straw, and I never slept better.
So you can only imagine what Matt would do now with his many connections. Imagine if She-Hulk decided to take on as many anti-vigilante task force officers as she could until Fisk's numbers started to shrink. You could pressure more and more people into not working for Fisk and moving outside the city with their families, because why would anyone continue to work for him if they're just going to get beaten up by the unbeatable over and over again? There's no reward at that point, and Fisk's leverage would only decrease if his numbers decrease. Fisk needs other people to enable them, and if they get pressured into dropping their loyalty to him, exposing Fisk only becomes easier to do. This is something Matt would definitely think of if exposing Fisk was shown to be unreliable.
Your Safer Streets initiative equates vigilantes with terrorists? My point is that these are provocative moves, Mr. Mayor. Moves that weren't discussed with the governor, weren't discussed with myself.
Why are they only talking about this 6 months later? If the mayor is making moves without discussing with higher powers, then that should be one of the first conversations being had.
You are definitely going to want to answer that phone call.
No, I totally understand. Yes, Ms. DeFontaine. As I was saying, Mr. Fisk, my office will totally support you and your policies regarding vigilantism, safer streets, hell, all of it. Oversight won't be a problem.
So Valentina is using her power to keep Fisk in office and uphold his anti-vigilante agenda? First of all, that makes no sense. Valentina uses her vision of the new Avengers to boost her reputation and credibility.
Right now, there are multiple rogue nations with technologies that far exceed our own. The Avengers are not walking through that door. We have no reliable heroes. That is why the onus is on me, on us, the American government, to shield its citizens. I have been working secretly to develop a new age of protection. Today, the citizens of the United States needed that protection, and thanks to my hard work, they got it. Meet the new Avengers.
If the anti-vigilante task force is successful, then they would have gotten rid of the vigilantes in the city. There's no way the new Avengers would ever support this, and they would go out of their way to stop Fisk. So what happens if they start to clash? We know Valentina can't stop them because the ending showed that the Thunderbolts have leverage over her due to knowing of her crimes. And if it comes to that, to the point where the new Avengers take down Fisk and his empire, they could easily spill that Valentina was enabling Fisk's power. This wouldn't be the first time, since this happened in Daredevil Season 1 and 3, which would only only pressure more and more people into talking. If they find out that Valentina was working with Fisk, then they'll throw her under the bus since she went against them behind their backs. But if the anti-vigilante task force somehow beats the new Avengers, or at least tries to smear their reputation, then that makes Valentina look bad for assembling that team and associating with them, and she loses her primary source of good optics by failing the promise of a new age of protection. It's completely against Valentina's goals to even work with Fisk. Remember when she spent the first act of Thunderbolts trying to kill them because they knew too much? What happens if Fisk weaponizes the details behind their deals? If he were to out her for enabling him by pressuring the higher powers to shut up, then she would look bad in public and even get in legal trouble. It's actually so much easier for her to use the Thunderbolts to get rid of Fisk. Overthrowing and exposing him would make her team look good and remove a potential obstacle for her team. We don't know what Valentina does for the remainder of the season because after this episode, they basically forget about her. There's no follow-up to this whatsoever. Now come to think of it, has Matt tried listening into the mayor's office to gain intel on him? He certainly could, given that we've seen him listen to people from across the city. If he tried this routinely, then he would have eventually heard of a call like this where a government official is being coerced into enabling Fisk. Not only do we never see him try this, but this is also never discussed. And he would have found something eventually if Fisk is willing to discuss his private business there. Yet Matt never has anything to share regarding it. I don't know why this is never entertained either. We then see that Swordsman is at the prison where the vigilantes are being held. This is where Swordsman was being kept in the season 1 finale. I don't know why Fisk even kept any of these prisoners alive. What did he have to gain from that? Why not just kill them? He certainly has the excuse of them being violent vigilantes.
Jesus, Bert, he's just a kid. No. It's a mass vigilante.
Matt also has a really bad disguise when he's supposed to be on the run. His face looks basically the same because he's already wearing glasses anyway, so wearing sunglasses wouldn't make him look any different. He also meets up with Cherry in broad daylight in public areas for some reason. They even comment on this.
I'm surprised to see you out here so publicly.
Why not meet at a more secluded location, or at nighttime? It's more likely that Fisk is keeping tabs on all of Matt's associates, so they should be very cautious when meeting up. Fisk is also uncharacteristically dumb in terms of how he runs his anti-vigilante task force. He has them publicly assault civilians for no reason, which would only drive hatred towards him, and Fisk is very cautious with how he's perceived by the public, and even avoids confrontations for this reason.
Confrontations can be expensive. I prefer to handle this quietly.
Fisk only enacts these physical punishments in private because he knows how bad these can make him look, not to mention that Fisk would be aware of how this can provoke vigilantes to act. We know Fisk is aware of this because he weaponizes this to bait and kill Daredevil.
You've demonstrated an emotional weakness for children, women. I assume that would extend to the elderly. So I baited the hook.
So if Fisk is smart enough to know this, then he should realize that this would provoke more superheroes into responding, even those like Captain America who are officially registered under the government. This would harm Fisk's optics, which is something he is shown to care about. In Daredevil Season 3, because he was so hated by the public, he made Bullseye dress up as Daredevil so he can be seen as the villain for assaulting and killing people.
Right now I am New York's scapegoat. Downstairs there are protesters chanting prayers to drive me out into the wilderness. The city needs a new villain. I think I might have found him.
I'm Daredevil.
I also don't believe BB Urich's friendship with Daniel. Daniel is directly enabling Fisk when he's a known crime boss who got her uncle killed.
What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? Did you?
Now it'd be one thing if BB Urich's friendship was solely a front to get information from him, but that's not what their interactions imply. They imply that their friendship is sincere, and she's trying to tell him that Fisk shouldn't be in his life.
You can't afford this?
No, it's perfect. Me and Fisk owns the building, so he got me a deal.
Fisk shouldn't be involved in any of his old businesses.
No. It's all legit. He put everything he owns into a trust.
Daniel, you have to be careful. Okay, Fisk is playing some 10-dimensional game, and if that ever comes crashing down, he's not gonna be the one that gets hurt.
If the goal is to get information from Daniel, making it transparently obvious that she's against what he stands for would give him less reason to trust her. It'd only give him more reason to be protective of any information related to Fisk, which is counterintuitive to using someone for information. Daniel would also be smart enough to catch on to BB if she's trying to manipulate him, especially since they have a history of Daniel being used for information, so I don't buy that these two would even be friends, especially with the more moves Fisk makes to harm the city.
We're closed.
Fisk's task force do this?
Why is Matt having this conversation while others are still around? Anyone could notice that's Matt Murdock, which the restaurant owner is able to deduce without Matt telling her.
Murdock.
Why not wait until she's alone? He literally did this to meet with Nadim in season 3, so it's not like Matt is dumb enough to not think of this. Also, why isn't the task force constantly watching this building? They should have cameras present and even have the place bugged. If they went here because they expected one of their sailors to possibly show up, they would have kept tabs on this place in case either of them return, and they would have noticed Matt arriving there.
Task force took him, which means nobody finds him.
So with all of the missing people as a result of the task force taking people in, this is only going to make Fisk look more and more suspicious, and makes it even less believable that no other superheroes are trying to stop Fisk right now and help Daredevil. The plan to destroy evidence is also really dumb, because it relies on 2 people on the ship having to activate some kind of self-sinking command to drown everyone in the ship.
I did what I was told. The devil came. I sank the ship he was supposed to sink.
Why would Fisk not account for the possibility that they try, preserving their lives after sinking the ship? Why leave this in their hands when he expects them to also be killed to avoid loose ends? Why not have Fisk himself oversee the shipment remotely and make the decision for himself to destroy the ship? It makes more sense for him to have his finger on the trigger if he wants to ensure that nobody speaks up if a vigilante were to show up. There wouldn't be a need to hunt down the 2 men on the ship if they had Fisk remotely oversee the transport to begin with, or have someone else remotely oversee it and destroy it themselves. It's also weird that his only plan to destroy evidence is to sink the ship when that doesn't actually destroy evidence. Blowing up the ship would actually destroy the evidence and would make the claim of Daredevil being a terrorist more believable. If there aren't any explosions that cause the ship to sink, then how can an average person believe that Daredevil was even capable of sinking the ship? There's no way he could have done that without blowing up the ship. It actually makes Daredevil look scarier because it makes it seem like he has access to bombs and will use it to his advantage. That's better than the plan he went with, but even then, this is going to be a hard sell, since Fisk is the one that had Bullseye impersonate Daredevil, so his word is not going to be very reliable. It's also worse when you consider that the 2 crewmates don't actually have evidence against Fisk, and apparently dying declarations enable Fisk's acquittal, so random testimonies from them wouldn't prove anything. There's no need to hunt them down, and any claims they make would not have proper evidence. Something Daredevil Season 1 touched upon was how Fisk tries to avoid needless killing because of how risky this is.
Just get rid of Healy the way you got rid of the other guy.
Rance, Fisher, McClintock, Farnham, we've been leaving a trail of bodies lately, and trails eventually lead somewhere.
If the trail of bodies can eventually lead somewhere, then Fisk shouldn't be trying to kill people who have no evidence against him. So this whole plotline, where he tries to find them and kill them, makes no sense. Why does Karen trust BB Urich on the team? She meets up with her privately to discuss their plans, but there's a personal and practical reason that Karen shouldn't trust BB on the team. The reason for that is in Season 1, BB Urich helped Fisk win the election.
Your coverage of my campaign was spot on, and not for nothing, you're one of the first people to take me seriously.
Giving a platform to someone like Wilson Fisk is one of the least responsible moves as a journalist, which is something she continues to do in the BB report in this season. And since Fisk considered it to be spot on, and that it wasn't for nothing, that must imply that she never used her platform to spread awareness of all of the crimes that Fisk has committed, all of the evidence out there, and all of the documents they would have had on him. The most important time to bring this up would be before the election, but I guess it was so sanitized that her coverage had Fisk's approval, and was apparently not for nothing because she was one of the first people to take him seriously. And even after Fisk wins, she even tries to give credit to Fisk and his task force as the ones who stopped Muse when she knew it was Daredevil. This is one of the reasons that Commissioner Gallo didn't trust her.
I read your piece on the Muse killing. That was a hell of a bit of spin, giving credit to the task force when everyone with half a brain knows that it was Daredevil. When did you become Fisk's Minister of Propaganda?
So with this in mind, there are many reasons Karen shouldn't trust BB. On a personal level, Karen barely knows BB Urich. She doesn't know her very well, and some of what she would know is that BB's coverage of Fisk's campaign helped him win, and her reports clearly didn't try to expose Fisk for his previous crimes. She uses her platform as propaganda for Fisk, because apparently she thinks this will bring her closer to him so she can learn more. Karen wouldn't have a clear read of her intentions, and doesn't know her well enough to determine what BB would or wouldn't do. There's no personal reason to trust her, and if anything, there's more of a reason for Karen to be frustrated with her. Now on a practical level, if BB is using her platform for propaganda in favor of Fisk, and has even used it to aid his election campaign, campaign, then this doesn't seem like a very smart person to bring onto the team, because it's not a great plan to help Fisk stay in power just to try getting information from him. She could be a liability to their team, even if she wants to help, and there's no practical reason to need to team up with her because Daredevil doesn't even need her help to investigate or fight task force officers. Karen is already an investigator, Jessica Jones is already an investigator, and Matt has connections to other superheroes that he keeps forgetting to use for no explained reason. Later, we get a scene of the anti-intelligence task force breaking into Cherry's home, asking why he and other cops were looking for 2 sailors that were on the Northern Star. Again, I don't know why they're doing this in a manner where anyone can see their interrogation tactics when this can make Fisk look bad. This could even get Daredevil involved, someone Fisk knows is associated with Cherry. Daredevil shows up to the scene and confronts the anti-intelligence task force. He takes out one officer, then another randomly, and for no reason, goes up close to him instead of keeping his distance and shooting. Another one tries this just so he can be kicked by Daredevil. Another one tries this again only to get kicked. And another officer runs up to Daredevil and gets taken down. If any of them kept their distance and shot at him, they wouldn't be in that situation. I thought that's what guns were for. For a moment, Daredevil gets distracted by Cherry's heartbeat because it reminds him of Foggy. I don't know why that would suddenly cause him to stop using his senses, because during the time Foggy was actually dying, Matt was still attentive in the fight, and he similarly heard Father Lantom's heartbeat fade away when he died. Yet in both instances, Matt was locked in as he should be. Being reminded of something like this should make him want to fight harder. He can sense all of them before they enter, so he's completely nerfed here. He then gets kicked to his side, and then gets 3 hits to his helmet. For some reason, that alone was enough to knock Daredevil onto the ground and leave him vulnerable to losing the fight, to the point he can't even fight back when they try to unmask him. I think for some people, it's fairly intuitive that something seems off here, in the same way it immediately seems off when Spider-Man gets taken down by a fridge. But to elaborate on how Daredevil is nerfed here, let's recall that Daredevil is wearing armor that can protect him from blades, pulls, gunshots, and even She-Hulk's thunderclap. If he tried blocking all of those hits, then he would have been able to tank it easier. But even then, let's take a look at what the original show has to say about Daredevil's armor.
You know, you're getting popped in the noggin, give me a chance to try some new stuff, and I'm pretty excited about it. Fortified carbon tube helmet. I mean, it's pretty damn close to indestructible.
What's even more important to note is that Daredevil has performed better before he even had an armored suit. We can start by looking at his fight with Nobu, who is literally a ninja trained to kill him. Not only does Nobu land several hits to this unarmored version of Daredevil, but he also stabs him and drags him across the floor, yet Daredevil can still get up and knock down Nobu. He can still evade all of his attacks and ends up winning that fight. Now remember, Daredevil has no armor. He's fatigued and injured by this point, and Fisk took advantage of that so he can face Daredevil at his weakest. Even while he's weak, he's still capable of fighting Fisk. He takes a series of hits from Fisk, someone with peak human physical conditioning. He first gets a hit to the face, numerous punches to his gut where he was already stabbed, and punched so hard that he spun straight towards the ground. Daredevil takes another swing to the face, and the next one sends him back to the ground, but he can still defend himself, and if Fisk didn't have the armor to protect him from Nobu's blade, Daredevil would have killed him right here. And remember, he's not wearing a nearly indestructible helmet that can significantly reduce the impact of these hits, and is facing previous punishment from fighting Nobu, a ninja who is trained to kill. Daredevil takes even more punches from Fisk and gets thrown into a table, but he still manages to get up seconds later, and even after that, he still has the strength to get up and jump out of the window, then swim away from Fisk. To say that Daredevil is nerfed when he loses to the anti-intelligence task force is an understatement. Daredevil performed better when fighting a ninja than fighting an armored man with peak human physical conditioning, when Daredevil doesn't even have the armor that he has in Born Again and is even more injured and fatigued. Just like his father in the boxing ring, Matt has trained himself to take a lot of punches and still stay in the fight. We similarly see this in his final fight in Season 1, where Fisk keeps tackling Daredevil, hitting him with a metal pole, landing punches on him, and throwing him around. And he knows to consistently block so he doesn't take the worst blows, which is something he forgets to do in that scene in Born Again.
This city doesn't deserve a better tomorrow! It deserves to drown! And it smells!
And guess what? Daredevil gets back up and wins.
This is my city. My family.
Not to mention that in Daredevil Season 3, Daredevil spends a lot of time fighting someone who is wearing his costume, which includes reinforced alloy gloves, so Daredevil is being hit by metal every single time, and is shown to stay in the fight even after his own billy club is used against him.
Billy Club? Like the cop shoes, only like 1,000,000 times cooler. It's my own design. Special steel fiber composite kit. damn near indestructible.
And when Daredevil does have his armor on in the series, he's able to take on teams of ninjas in combat, all of which are highly trained killers. But in Born Again, he's reduced to losing to 3 anti-intelligence task force officers, which gives me flashbacks to Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
But SK, he's just tired. He's not thinking, and he's sad that Foggy died. So the nerfing makes sense.
Yes, because Matt was totally nerfed when Elektra was killed in front of him. He definitely didn't finish off Nobu afterwards. Matt was totally nerfed when he heard Father Lantom get killed by Bullseye and was immediately taken out of the fight. If anything, he remained consistently motivated to fight and still performed at the level he typically does. This isn't even consistent with Born Again Season 1. Before the fight with Bullseye, Daredevil heard Foggy get shot. He's getting stabbed constantly while he's hearing Foggy's heartbeat slowly fade away, and he's still performing without getting knocked down easily. The episode ends with Bullseye trying to save Daredevil, which may or may not have good reasoning behind it. I'd rather let the other episodes speak for themselves and see how they try to justify it, because it's pretty shocking that Bullseye would do this after Daredevil literally tried to kill him. With that said, the writing for this episode is a 2 out of 10 at best, and knowing what's in the other episodes, this is about to get worse.
I know what you're wondering. How are we gonna do this without dishonoring Daredevil's memory? And I'll tell you how. We're not.
The next episode follows up on Dex's story by showing him at the same church where he killed Father Lantom.
There a nun who works here? Sister Maggie, I think.
Yes, she's on a sabbatical year in Rome.
What?
She's on a sabbatical year in Rome.
What?
Sabbatical year in Rome.
You've really pissed me off.
For the longest time, I've been waiting for Born Again to explain why Maggie isn't involved in Matt's life and why she isn't helping him in Season 1, even though her arc in Season 3 was about making up for having abandoned Matt as a child and growing into the parental figure that she should have been for him. Matt overcame his resentment and forgave Maggie for it, which is why he sees Maggie as someone he could seek guidance from when he needs it.
In fact, Father Lantom used to help me with that. Help me see the errors of my ways. I could use someone else to help me with that now.
I'm a nun, Matthew. Helping is what I was called to do.
You'd think that Matt losing his best friend would be a crucial time for Maggie to guide Matt and to help him overcome his grief and regain the courage to become Daredevil again and put a stop to Fisk while he's still out there. I thought that's what she tried in Season 3, when Matt was at his lowest point and needed guidance. And to address this glaring issue in Season 1, we get a throwaway line telling us that she went to take a vacation in Rome, effectively leaving Matt when he'd arguably need her support the most.
Unsubscribed, blocked and reported.
You know, you would have much more influence over the situation if you let it be known that he and Matt Murdock are one and the same.
Now this is a very good point that Buck makes, considering this is a long-awaited question that has been lingering since Season 1.
I will tell the world who you really are.
Seeing that Fisk has been acquitted for his crimes, he no longer has a reason to fulfill his deal with Daredevil, so why couldn't he tell the world his identity? There better be a very good reason.
SK, of course they have a good reason not to reveal Daredevil's identity. They address this in the show. Nice try, dude.
No. Daredevil, he's an easy sell as enemy of the people, but Matt Murdock, a blind man who saved my life, I don't think so.
Daredevil Born Again takes place mostly in 2026. This would be 3 years after the snap was undone. Fisk had many years to do this before Matt saved his life. This isn't a good explanation for why he doesn't reveal his identity, because he had a lot of time to do so beforehand. But even if we set that aside, Fisk thinks it wouldn't make sense to say that the guy who saved his life is Daredevil, even though Daredevil spared his life in Season 1 and 3, even saving both him and Vanessa from Dex. But what's even more important is that if Fisk is running with the narrative that Matt Murdock is blind, then this would put into question how Matt even saved his life at all. What would make more sense is that if Matt was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time, because he's literally blind in this narrative. There's no way he'd know how to save Fisk from a gunshot if he was blind, even if he really wanted to save him. Fisk can have witnesses who support him to corroborate this, which makes the situation easier for him to manipulate. Not to mention that Matt does have a history of defending vigilantes or aligning with their agendas, so this would reduce credence to the idea that Matt is a hero. For some someone to know that Matt was taking a bullet for him, they'd have to know about his heightened senses that allow him to be Daredevil. So openly stating that Matt Murdock is a hero for saving his life isn't even a believable narrative either, so there really isn't a good reason for Fisk not to reveal Daredevil's identity, especially since Matt disappearing as soon as Daredevil is wanted would only add credence to the idea that he's Daredevil. And if Fisk is accusing Karen of aiding and abetting Daredevil, then Daredevil being Matt Murdock would only make more sense of that. So this explanation they run with here doesn't make any sense.
That's the best you can do!
That's kind of brilliant, right? Fisk not outing me. He gets all the people who support vigilantes searching for Matt Murdock and all the people who hate them searching for Daredevil.
Okay, but Fisk is relying on a small part of the city to find Matt, since the idea is that his anti-vigilante campaign helped him with the election. And if those people support Daredevil, none of them in the right mind would ever trust Fisk's word on wanting to bring him home. Matt tried to get Fisk in prison, and Daredevil has publicly fought him twice. Also, why is Fisk only addressing this in public 6 months later?
As you know, months ago, there was an attempt on my life.
Why is this a conversation they're only having 6 months later? This is a really strange time to discuss this, since the manhunt would have started since the end of Born Again Season 1. When a movie or season ends, time doesn't just freeze in between. Events still happen, yet the discussion of how to approach the manhunt for Matt Murdock and Daredevil seems like it arbitrarily froze until it was time to turn on the camera.
The things that can damage us most are the ones we're least prepared for, aren't they?
Shit. Look, I should have brought it to you as soon as I saw it. I just, I wanted to get more information before coming to you because
Daniel,
I know
this person is mocking me.
I'm sorry, sir.
Do you remember when I told you if you ever betray me, it'll be the last thing you ever did? Finding out how inside information is ending up in here is your responsibility.
So Fisk is dealing with another leak in his administration, where BB gets a hold of a video on Daniel's computer and leaks it on her alt account. Now this sounds familiar to a plot point in Daredevil Born Again Season 1.
I will find out which one of you leaked this.
It was me. I completely made a mistake. This entire thing is my fault. I was drunk and stupid, and I didn't mean to do it, but I did do it, and I know that's unforgivable.
Now Fisk was willing to give Daniel a chance after a lengthy apology from him, and made it clear that this is the only chance he's getting.
I said I'm not gonna fire you. If you ever do anything like that again, it will be the last thing that you ever do.
Well, he basically did it again. He found out about a leak and didn't give a good reason not to tell Fisk about it. So why is he being let off the hook again? What if he screws up and jeopardizes more information? I can understand Fisk believing that Daniel can improve after the first time, and that he's not making any active attempt to betray him, but after displaying incompetence with confidential information twice, he shouldn't be on his team anymore. Fisk would probably just get rid of him at this point because he's a liability.
You're fired. Expect your severance package soon.
It also comes into question how the video was obtained, because we saw the video was on Daniel's laptop. Did he never think to always leave his laptop password protected, or leave it on a company computer with the proper encryptions within the mayor's office? You'd think he would after screwing up with the first leak in Season 1, and these are things Fisk would consider instead of letting Daniel off the hook again. I don't know why Matt is taking Karen out into the field to investigate the shipments with him. It's better to have Daredevil sneaking around on his own with a body cam to collect any evidence needed. Sending Karen here is a risk because she's less capable of defending herself, and she doesn't need to be there for Matt to learn information. They end up waiting from broad daylight to night at the site and are conveniently never spotted. I don't even know why they started in broad daylight, since Fisk would obviously not run his illegal deals during the day, and again, Matt has connections to other heroes who can help him. Jessica Jones is a private investigator. Why doesn't he reach out to her before doing a mission like this? Especially since she was mentioned earlier.
Jess just pulled the ship's manifest. For now, we have the captain and the first mate.
Cole North is brought back to the task force after facing serious injuries in the last season, where he was stabbed, knocked out, then blown up inside the building. How did he survive this when he had no way of distancing himself and was already dealing with serious injuries? This would have killed him easily, especially since the other people in there died.
How many people died in that asshole lawyer's place? Seven. Exactly.
I still don't understand why would you take such a risk on a Northern Star.
I believe that I can do more good than just New York.
You have built an empire that will be remembered.
Will it? New Yorkers have a short memory. Have you ever considered that with all that we have and what we've done, that we're obligated to make global impact?
How many more worlds do you need to conquer?
How many are there?
This exchange is fairly mixed to me. While I can understand Fisk wanting to expand his power, his dismissal of New York seems uncharacteristic of him. In the first season of Daredevil, the show made a point about how Fisk's identity is shaped by the city.
When I was a kid, I used to dream what it would be like to live somewhere far away from Hell's Kitchen. somewhere beautiful.
What made you stay?
I didn't. When I was 12 years old, my mother, she sent me to stay with relatives at a farm, middle of nowhere. Those were good years.
But you came back.
Yes, time and distance they afford a certain clarity. I realized that the city was a part of me, that it was in my blood. I would do anything to make it a better place for people like you.
He loves this city in a way you and I never could. I don't expect you to understand that. There are moments when even I struggle to, but he does. Almost, I suspect, as much as he loves his mother.
He resonated with the city so much that it felt like it was a part of him, like it was in his blood. So writing off New Yorkers as people with short memory is odd to me. That doesn't reflect his vision for the city, as he expected to be remembered as such an important figure. He expected to make history in the city that it was so connected to. So his dismissal of New York is just uncharacteristic. In a later scene, we see that Bullseye has a clear view of Vanessa and Heather through a window, which implies that he has been keeping tabs on her. Why doesn't Dex just kill Vanessa right now? Does he not have a gun on him? What about any blades? He can easily just kill Vanessa right now, yet for some reason he ignores this opportunity and walks away.
Good job.
We later see that Angela gets into Kirsten's office to tell her about her aunt being taken by the task force and likely disappearing, as most people taken by them do. We see that Matt kept White Tiger's amulet that gives him powers in his office building for some reason. Why didn't the anti-intelligence task force come across this? They would have searched Matt's office for any clues to find him. Why didn't Matt account for how they could have found this at his office building? It's especially dangerous to lose this because this grants someone powers, and somehow Angela doesn't get stopped by the task force, who should be monitoring this location. If they bugged the place, they would have realized she was here and what she was doing. The anti-intelligence task force breaks into Josie's, which isn't surprising at all given how obvious of a location this is. I don't know how it took them 6 months to think of searching here when they continuously failed to find Daredevil. It's especially egregious given how easy it was for the task force to find Daredevil and Dex in episode 5. So it comes across as the task force being selectively competent, depending on what's most convenient for the plot. And once Daredevil shows up, they only send a few task force officers here. But this is Daredevil, who is known to take down an army of ninjas. The task force was barely an army. This is just a small group of generic thugs for him to take down. You'd think the task force would travel in larger packs as well if they're supposed to go after vigilantes, which often includes superpowered beings, or people like the Punisher that can match the level of danger that an army can deliver. It's also weird how Daredevil keeps yelling Karen's name at the end, as if he can't just use his senses to track her down immediately. In fact, he should constantly be keeping track of her, so he knows if she's safe or not. They later show up to a different hideout, the same one Punisher was shown to have in season 1. If this was a hideout they had, I don't know why they didn't use that from the jump instead of the one at Josie's that would be easier to deduce. Also, how did Karen single-handedly bring the task force officer to the hideout without drawing any attention? The task force would have noticed this easily. Now this episode was even worse than the previous episode. I'd give the writing for this episode a 1 out of 10, as there was barely anything redeeming about the writing.
None of this makes sense.
Early into episode 3, Matt and Karen have an argument about how Karen handles the current situation with the task force.
What is going on?
This is how we end it.
My kidnapping task force.
What am I listening to? Daredevil of all people is grandstanding about kidnapping people for information? Are we forgetting that Daredevil essentially kidnaps people that he interrogates? Remember when the Defenders interrogated a member of the Hand in their secret hideout? Why is he pushing back against Karen's idea? How is it not of use to interrogate one of Fisk's men to find information? That's a very intuitive strategy, and this seems like a very forced argument between the two, and it leads to nowhere anyway. It also raises the question as to why Matt hasn't tried this in 6 months. That's a lot of time to interrogate people. The officer cooperates and reveals that he's actually in support of Daredevil's resistance. He tells them to check his pocket to get an access card.
That'll get you in everywhere.
Well, that's very useful information. Where could it bring them? What locations are accessible by the task force? Could it potentially lead to the location where the missing people were sent to by the task force? Could it potentially lead to the location of the smuggled weapons? There are so many questions Daredevil could ask here.
If you're lying to me, you fuck. I'll find you.
This scene is infuriatingly stupid. Daredevil is the biggest idiot ever. This guy is telling you that the card can access numerous locations, which can include the location where everyone is being held hostage. If the task force can access it, then they would know where the location is. Instead of asking about it, he torments him over and over by insisting he's a liar, making stupid threats towards him when Daredevil can tell if he's lying or not, then punches him in the face before dumping him on the street. And that's why he doesn't know the location of the Red Hook prison. This scene is a terrible depiction of Daredevil. Daredevil is smart. He uses people's heartbeats to tell if they're being truthful or not, and because of that advantage, he carefully asks his questions to find the vital information he can learn from the conversation. In this scene, he ignores a vital opportunity to learn more about Red Hook and any other locations the task force can access. And trust me, the way Daredevil learns of the location later will only make him look like an even bigger idiot. We later see Heather pull out the Muse mask onto her desk. I don't know why she has that there. We last saw that in the hands of the task force, who would have kept that as evidence, not for someone's personal collection. I want to briefly talk about Heather's character here, because she's pretty much the same one-note character we had in season 1, except this season focuses more on how she's haunted by Muse. Now in season 1, her perspective never made any sense. She's dating the lawyer who proved Fisk was guilty on numerous counts, and for some reason goes to bat for him at any opportunity she can, while believing that Daredevil is the one who's out for himself. And it's never explained why. This season repeats this problem by never explaining why Heather believes Daredevil and vigilantes are the problem, but Fisk isn't. She even goes as far as falsifying answers from swordsmen because of her loyalty to Fisk.
These men you're defending are dangerous, don't you see that? Frank Castle is a murderer. Him and Daredevil might have killed Matt.
Daredevil literally saved her life. She was there to see it, and the task force wrongfully took credit for defeating Muse when it was actually Heather who took him down. What experience of hers would bias her against vigilantes and be in favor of Fisk? She was literally saved by a vigilante and was dating a lawyer who stood with them and exposed Fisk numerous times. She's just a cartoonishly stupid character, and we're never given an understandable reason for why she believes what she believes. The goal of a story should be to make these characters understandable and therefore believable, even when these characters are flawed to varying degrees. Sometimes they'll show a personal experience that aligns with what they believe. Sometimes they'll show a set of circumstances that affect their development. Sometimes they'll establish deliberately skewed morals in favor of an ulterior motive, but none of that is provided with Heather's character. Her experience doesn't align with her belief. Her only experience with the vigilante is being saved by one, while the task force stole credit for taking down Muse. The side which she somehow believes isn't out for themselves, but Daredevil is. She doesn't have a personal experience with Fisk that would paint him in a more positive light and cloud her judgment of the numerous records of his crimes. But she has a personal relationship with someone who stood up to Fisk and has a friend who Fisk tried to have killed. And there isn't an established ulterior motive for her supporting Fisk and hating vigilantes. It's presented as a real belief she has that she tries to convince others towards.
Why would you work for Fisk? He's genuinely trying to make the city a safer place.
You mean like when he attacked an associate of an Avenger, someone who helped save the world many times in half the universe? You mean like when he was on the run from the police for said crimes? You mean like when he targeted a superhero who helped his neighborhood, saved half the universe, and saved the multiverse? Someone who was entrusted by the guy who literally died to save half the universe?
Or a man who dresses in a spider outfit.
If Fisk got what he wanted, the Avengers wouldn't exist, and the world wouldn't exist either.
I was on the other end of that vigilante violence.
What vigilante violence are you talking about? The kind of violence where he only fights the mass murderer and no longer engages in combat after he gets dealt with? And if Heather considers everyone Daredevil fights to be a vigilante, then what does that make Wilson Fisk? What does that make every supervillain stopped by a superhero? What, is Green Goblin a vigilante? Is Electro a vigilante? Is Loki a vigilante? In order for her to come to any of these conclusions, she needs to have some kind of bias for Wilson Fisk, and that, again, is never explained in the show.
But SK, have you considered that the writing makes sense because I unfortunately know a lot of women? You're turning into Frank. You're saying you want his help?
He is effective.
Karen would not say this. The ways in which Frank kills people is something Karen finds horrifying.
I gotta be real clear here. I want to help you, but not if it's gonna get someone killed.
She was against Matt killing Fisk in season 3, and in the previous season, she was worried about Matt having to kill.
It'll be Josie's all over again. You go in there, you will die, or you will kill.
Murder is not how we win this.
I am not suggesting that we go out and start murdering random task force, but cutting the head off the snake?
See, this is fine for the time being. It's understandable why Karen would think to kill Kingpin specifically after he keeps inexplicably avoiding punishment, but calling the Punisher effective is a wild overstatement because he doesn't have any strong restraint against killing outside of if someone is innocent or not. And this is something Karen finds horrifying, so she wouldn't think to herself that the Punisher's way is effective.
You sure the governor got a copy?
I am.
Where did this come from?
Anonymous.
Why did Karen and Matt wait 6 months to share this document with the governor? This literally exposes the Freeport that Vanessa didn't want Foggy to expose. So why did they do nothing with this for half a year? They could have put a stop to it if the governor received this much earlier.
I recently received a copy of the Charter of 1855. The Freeport status is perpetual and inviolable. It can only be revoked by the order of the governor.
This scene also makes it clear that the governor isn't on board with Fisk's operation.
I'd say you're looking to avoid state oversight. It was a deft move, developing Red Hook. Knowing its status as a free port would lead to incredible profits with minimal accountability.
Yeah, he was clearly looking to avoid oversight once he decided to make all of these ridiculous demands in the previous finale. Why is this only being talked about 6 months later?
But money and an army of white shoe lawyers doesn't make you immune.
Then why was nothing done for half a year?
I've turned a blind eye to your emergency powers, safer streets, vigilante trials, because on paper, and with most of the voting public, it's working.
How is this working on most of the voting public? Every superhero would oppose the Safer Streets initiative, including the Avengers, which are loved by most of the public, so much that this motivated one of the villains to pretend to be one of them.
But these days, you can be the smartest guy in the room, the most qualified, and no one cares. Unless you're flying around with a cape or shooting lasers from your hands, no one will even listen.
How do you expect me to believe that in this world, a world that loved superheroes so much and showed gratitude for them saving the world over and over again, would side with a well-known crime boss over the Avengers? Especially in a world where the Sokovia Accords became so unpopular that they were repealed.
I remind you that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed.
So the governor not taking action against Fisk is reliant on the public, in one of the most left-wing cities, not having a problem with Fisk establishing a task force that exercises brutality and disregards due process, while the superheroes in America don't take the proper action to turn the public against Fisk when they easily could. There's so many problems that come with this justification for the governor turning a blind eye to Fisk's actions.
I can do this all day.
I've seen people try to compare Fisk's situation with Trump's situation, because Trump is also a convicted felon who managed to become the president and stay in power. And while there's certainly corruption in both situations, the surrounding context and the fact that our world differs from the MCU are key reasons as to why this doesn't work as a defense.
It took me 6 weeks to get access to my client. You gave me 2 days notice before trial.
We sent a scheduling change to Miss McDuffie's email address weeks ago.
To my dead Manhattan Superior Court email.
Why wasn't any of this addressed before going to court? Why did she proceed with the trial if she wasn't given the time to prepare for it due to a communication error? Why is this only being brought up now?
We're under the Safer Streets initiative. Our hands are tied.
You know what's missing here, don't you? One single shred of proof that my client is who you, or should I say Mayor Fisk, says he is.
You are close to contempt, Counselor.
This court finds you guilty.
So all of a sudden, Fisk doesn't need to provide evidence that someone is actually a vigilante. He can just claim they are and not have an answer ready for when someone presses for evidence in court, and this doesn't create any governmental problems within the state of New York?
That makes no sense.
Why even put swordsmen on trial if this is apparently how things work now? There's no point of a trial at all if basic elements of due process such as evidence aren't even important to consider, seeing that they can get away with dismissing this. And it's not even in Fisk's interest or plans to go through due process.
No due process, no warrants!
Later in the episode, Daredevil meets Kirsten in her office because he needs her help to track down Red Hook.
I need your help. You met with Duquesne today. I need you to tell me everything you saw.
Well, they had me wear blackout goggles, so I didn't see anything.
I can work with that.
The only sounds they show us are of the wind, a group of pigeons, water splashes, and apparently that's enough for Daredevil to track down this prison?
What? What are you talking about?
This shouldn't tell Daredevil anything. These are generic sounds you would find all over the city. Why would this lead him towards Red Hook?
So she had to describe what she felt, and he's able to just take her... Fuck off, show.
Also, he would have found out about Red Hook without needing to consult Kirsten because he could have gotten this information from the task force officer. That is, if Daredevil bothered to ask him. Not just in this episode, but for the past 6 months since he decided they needed to resist. There's also a Mayor Kingpin video from BB that showed a photo of the location, so I guess that somehow wasn't a lead for Daredevil's team either. Also, why does the Red Hook prison only require a card scan to get in? I ask this because in the world of the MCU, especially when dealing with vigilantes, anyone Anyone can steal items off people. People like Bullseye or Punisher can make credible death threats that can get them to comply. This is very important to keep secret, so Fisk doesn't get caught kidnapping a whole bunch of people. In the MCU, we've had events like Hydra's infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. expose major national security risks. We've had a flying vulture guy steal alien tech from damage control for years. We've had a covert strategist bypass UN security on 2 occasions, leading to some of the most major terrorist attacks in the MCU. In the MCU, the tech is more advanced and there are superhumans, so why is Red Hook security this week? Also, we saw the Punisher escape from the prison in the Born Again Season 1 finale. You're telling me he made no attempt to release the prisoners? Not even tell Daredevil the location of the prison? One visit at Josie's and the Punisher would have been able to tell Matt this very quickly. He had 6 months to do something, and he did nothing.
The hell, Frank?
I don't know why Daredevil didn't call the Defenders or She-Hulk to break out the prison. Given how dangerous this escape would be for them, She-Hulk is able to shield them from bullets. Or the Hulk, or War Machine, or any other bulletproof superheroes that are tied to Daredevil's associates. Why is the Anti-Intelligence Task Force closing the distance with batons? They're dealing with Daredevil here. They don't care about these prisoners anyway, nor would Fisk himself. Why not shower them with bullets from the start instead of walking up to them? When they do decide to use bullets, they start shooting through a bunch of smoke, but the thing is, they're still shooting the general area where it's crowded with prisoners, and none of them can dodge bullets the same way Daredevil can when sensing firearms being aimed. So how did nobody get hit by any of those bullets? And once they have an escape vehicle, Daredevil takes down 3 task force agents. While Daredevil is on the last one, Karen shoots the guy to kill him, even though Daredevil already had him on the ground and he wasn't targeting Karen. So this isn't even a matter of self-defense, she just chose to kill him. While I can maybe see Karen doing this as a cautionary move, Matt should be talking to Karen about this, given how much he enforces his rule against killing, especially for those who have already been taken down. He never does in this episode, and it never comes up again. In a general sense, I don't know why Karen is even here at all. Matt wasn't expecting any prisoners, judging by how he told Karen that he couldn't leave them.
Fisk has people in here, not just vigilantes. I couldn't leave those people there.
And she can't be serving as a getaway driver because her car would have been checked at Red Hook and she would get caught very easily, and this would needlessly put Karen in danger, which Matt wouldn't be okay with. Angela being here doesn't make sense either. How did she know to be here? Did she jump in their vehicle and Daredevil somehow didn't notice? Did she somehow drive here and Daredevil didn't notice? Why did Fisk think it's a good idea to blow up the ship at the end? It's not like Daredevil knew about the cargo to even report anything about it. Was it just to frame Daredevil? Why would he use that to frame Daredevil? He's not someone known for using bombs, and it'd be especially suspicious that Fisk of all people is claiming this when he literally had someone pretend to be Daredevil. This should actually make him more suspicious to the public, yet this doesn't happen, and the governor got involved once the first ship capsized.
And I'm a firm believer in giving enough rope. But when a tanker with dubious cargo capsizes in the East River, it's when the rope pulls taut.
So wouldn't this cause the governor to take further actions? None of this plan actually makes sense. This episode was also really bad. The writing for this one also gets a 1 out of 10.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Episode 4 opens at Dex's apartment, where we see him making breakfast for himself. Okay, we got a problem already. How did Dex rent an apartment? What proof of income could he provide if he's been in jail for a year? What income could he have? He's famously known for attempting to assassinate the mayor. His face would be known by just about everyone. So even if he's not caught right away by the building staff, it wouldn't be hard to find out eventually, which makes it a problem that he thinks renting an apartment is a smart idea. Why would he rent an apartment instead of staying at a hideout? This should almost guarantee that he gets caught and tracked down by the task force. Dex has been here for about 6 months, and he somehow was never caught? It's not like he's cautious when he leaves the apartment either. He walks out in public with his face exposed, his tactical gear isn't well hidden either. He then proceeds to go to a public diner and show his face to everyone there, which doesn't tip anyone off. Now before I proceed with anything, I think it's worthwhile to break down every step of Dex's plan and point out how stupid it is, because it all leads to the diner fight. So the first step was for him to save Daredevil and leave a sign that they're on the same side. His next move was to leave and go to Matt's church and say that he wants to seek penance.
I found that at a murder scene today.
These tokens are available to all our parishioners. There was a man. He came looking for a nun who used to be assigned here. He came looking for counsel, penance. I told him I wasn't a priest yet. He held a knife on me. He told me he wakes every morning to the sound of the church bells, and he watches me open the doors for morning mass.
So it seems like his goal here is to bait Daredevil to his location, indicated by him leaving the coin at the diner that leads to Maggie's church, and specifically telling the worker details that would lead Daredevil to his apartment. So all of this was just to get into a meeting with Daredevil so they can team up and kill Fisk. Now already we have a problem. Why bother with this convoluted plan to meet Daredevil when the end of the first episode showed that Dex was tailing Daredevil well enough to save his life? If you wanted to meet him so badly, why not do it then? With the plan he goes with, he's relying on a ridiculous amount of improbabilities and impossibilities. Going to Matt's church can lead to the task force being called immediately, considering what happened the last time Dex was at the church. Randomly dressing up as Bullseye in the hospital to save Cherry is needlessly risky and drawing attention to himself, as opposed to dressing as a hospital employee. And when he gets around to the diner, he calls the task force and claims that the Punisher is at the diner just so he can fight them. Any one of these guys could have killed him. Even if they failed at that, it would give them a lead to tail him. He's also expecting Daredevil to go to the crime scene and somehow obtain the coin before any other investigator does. And from there, Dex just expects to go home and not have Daredevil come after him? There's too much wrong here. What if the coin gets taken into evidence? What if the task force goes to the church before Matt does? What if Daredevil didn't try to impersonate a task force officer to investigate the scene? What if he instead listened to the crime scene to learn of their findings? What if the guy who saw Dex in the church decided to go to the police and tell them what he told him about where he wakes up? The task force would have deduced the same building that Daredevil did, and the worker could have reported this right after it happened. This whole plan is just stupid. None of this is necessary if he just met with Daredevil from the start.
Not a great plan.
I've seen people defend this by saying Dex is very unstable and therefore his plans are more risky and reckless, often citing the final fight in Daredevil Season 3. But the large difference already is that Dex did take precautions. They said as such despite how tight their security was.
How did this happen?
Dex knows our security protocols.
He didn't just run into the scene, he carefully worked around their security protocols before confronting Fisk. And while there's a degree of impulsiveness and anger in his plan, this is because he literally just learned shocking information that demonstrates that Fisk betrayed him. So he's in a state of immediate anger and shock. The scene at the diner is 6 months after the season finale of Born Again Season 1, and he's in a calm state of mind in the intro. He had 6 months to come up with some kind of plan to go after Fisk. He had a lot more time than he did in Season 3, and again, even in the heat of battle, he makes smart choices. Our introduction to him in Season 3 showed as such. Now this leads into the actual fight at the diner, and it has so many issues. So the first officer gets shocked by Dex and gets hit in the eye. After Bullseye has shown that he's a very clear threat, the task force should be ready to shoot him, especially since this line was said.
Bullseye, if he tried to kill you once, he's gonna do it again. My guys know not to fuck around. They see him, they kill him.
Meanwhile, they give Bullseye time to put on his mask when there are several of them with guns pointed at him. One of them tries closing the distance on him.
Good job.
Two more just stand there while Bullseye is retaliating.
Hello? Anybody home?
Two officers stood and did nothing when they could have shot at Bullseye. Two other officers were also just standing there and doing nothing when they had a safer distance from Bullseye. Bullseye jumps over to evade their gunfire even though they would have been spamming bullets at him. And once Bullseye takes out the anti-intelligence task force, we see that no more officers are sent. Not even a dozen officers were sent to deal with who they believed was the Punisher. Why would they not travel in larger numbers if they're hunting down vigilantes on the level of Punisher and Bullseye? Why is this all they bring upon hearing a report that the Punisher is there? Why don't they send more after Bullseye kills many of them? Why didn't he say this earlier if he was still conscious? He had the time, and even then, Bullseye wastes time putting up a target symbol with ketchup. Why is he doing this when the task force would send in more numbers? None of this makes any sense. We then see a testimony done to try to expose Fisk for the kidnappings. Again, I don't get a sense that progress is being made because when Nadim gave the most damning testimony that could ever exist, that became the reason Fisk was acquitted. So how are we expected to believe that this would progress anything?
It's time for me to go. It's a shame because we could use more people like you.
Yeah, like the Defenders, She-Hulk, the original Hulk, the Avengers, the list goes on.
The SD card. I'm supposed to get it to my source, but with task force everywhere, I'm too exposed.
It's okay. Let me do it.
No way, it's too dangerous.
So what? I stole their truck. They're probably already looking for me.
Something I think is important to consider here is that Angela is a child, meaning that sending her into the field and involving her in missions related to Daredevil's team would be especially dangerous for her, and allowing her to take part in these missions would be fairly irresponsible. There's at least a lot to discuss when making a decision like this, but Daredevil seems to be on board and Karen doesn't push back. She just agrees to send Angela despite acknowledging it's very dangerous and stops arguing that case. And considering her aunt is responsible for looking after Angela and didn't want Hector to become the White Tiger, she She should also be pushing back on this decision. Not only are kids more vulnerable and less experienced, but they're also less mature and not the best at following instructions. It's very strange for Daredevil to write this off. It's also strange that they never consult the Aunt before doing this. They're just endangering her niece behind her back.
You understand the responsibility that comes with this?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I don't think I'm responsible and ready should really cut it for Daredevil. Every kid would say this, especially if they're eager to get into the action. Just because a kid says they're ready doesn't mean an adult should consider them as such. I'd like to play a quick round of a game I like to call Count the Reasons. Let's count the reasons as to why Daredevil shouldn't be okay with involving a child in his missions. Well, there's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that he didn't want Hector to be the White Tiger so he could focus on his family, due to the risk the identity reveal presents.
If you are acquitted, your White Tiger days are over. You have to think about your family now. They need you.
So if the task force is after Angela, that should put into perspective why Matt shouldn't want her to operate as the new White Tiger. He even seems to encourage it by letting her keep the amulet that grants her abilities instead of confiscating it until she's old enough to make decisions like this on her own. He should also find it reckless for Angela to show up to Red Hook without even wearing a mask to protect her identity, alongside whatever investigations she had to do in order to find out where this place was. And due to how reckless that is, Matt should be calling this out. He should be stressing the importance of keeping her identity a secret, but this isn't a conversation that ever comes up. Even if Matt had no control over if Angela could be the White Tiger or not, he could at the very least mentor her and point out her mistakes so that she can improve and has a better chance at survival, yet he doesn't even do that. Which is crazy considering he knows that Hector's secret identity getting exposed is what allowed him to get killed. He doesn't even take the amulet from her, which is the reason Angela is okay with entering the field. Taking the amulet from her would indicate that now isn't the time for her to be a vigilante. One of the Northern Star crewmates shows up to Matt's current hideout. I don't know how he thought to go there at this time when he has no way of knowing what their plan was, or what they even achieved.
Yeah, he wants me there. Not just me.
He's setting a trap for Bullseye.
So Fisk wants to try killing Bullseye and Daredevil at the same time by sending them to confront him at Fogwells? Why would Fisk take a risk like this when he wants to evade Bullseye? He should just be protected at all times. Something smart that he did in the Netflix show was to always come prepared for any physical confrontation. Shouldn't Fisk just maintain cover and protection when he's in public? Because someone like Bullseye can very easily take you out from a distance even if you're expecting him to show up. This is also reliant on Daredevil managing to stop Bullseye in time, which Fisk has no control over. Bullseye could enter the scene at any angle, and Daredevil would have to run or grapple all the way towards him to even get close. This also ignores the risk of Bullseye getting his hands on explosives, so if he brings down the building, he could easily leave Fisk vulnerable or at least take out the task force much quicker. He would also kill or knock out Daredevil straight away. Also, this assumes that only Daredevil and Bullseye would show up. What if the Punisher shows up? Or any other vigilante that's okay with killing? What's your plan then? If Fisk wanted to bait the hook to get them killed, why didn't Fisk try taking someone hostage? Given that Fisk is willing to ignore evidence in court and fabricate documents, he could spawn a narrative that Kirsten is aiding and abetting Daredevil, resulting in his arrival at Red Hook. So Fisk could publicly reveal that she's been taken in, allow a task force officer to get beaten up and interrogated by Daredevil, just so he finds the location and gets lured into a trap in a pursuit to save Kirsten. We know this is something Fisk would think of because he literally thought of something like this in Daredevil Season 1. When you give Fisk the power of being mayor and capable of evading proper due process, you run into situations like this where he has too much freedom, which opens too many options to stop Daredevil. In the Netflix show, Fisk had a heavily limited reach instead of options. Randomly giving him a task force while he's in a leadership position makes the power dynamic far less balanced. Bullseye sees the news report regarding Fisk's boxing match at Fogwells. In the middle of the report, where relevant details are being shared, he decides to interrupt it and cut his primary source of information. I don't know why Bullseye would be this stupid. The anti-intelligence task force breaks into Kirsten's law office and immediately displays suspicion that she had something to do with Swordsman's escape, which only goes to support what I said earlier about how they could easily frame a narrative about Kirsten aiding and abetting vigilantes. Given that they're willing to trash the place, I don't know why he didn't take in Kirsten the same way he did with all of the other people that were captured by the task force. This is barely an interrogation.
Talk like that to get you hurt someday.
Talk like that is how I do my fucking job.
Why did they just leave after this? Why not take her into questioning? Karen shows up to Kirsten's office office. I don't know why the task force isn't monitoring who goes in and out of this building. They would have noticed Karen very easily. I don't know why this place isn't bugged or why Karen isn't operating under that precaution. If they're highly suspicious of Kirsten aiding vigilantes, then they should be spying on her hardcore.
I don't like the way your husband wields his power. I don't trust it, and it makes me nervous.
So why haven't you done anything? Has she not consulted the new Avengers about any of this? Because she wouldn't even have to reveal what her intentions are. She would just have to ask their opinions on Wilson Fisk, and given none of them would like Fisk and would want him out of office, one of which sends a video to Hawkeye that exposes him, they would be very clear regarding their opposition to Fisk and would actually encourage the governor to take action, which she would. The new Avengers backing her position would make Fisk more unpopular in the city. This premise already doesn't work. The governor should have stopped Fisk a while ago.
Can you temper his darker impulses?
Why does the governor need to convince Vanessa to get him to stop? She shouldn't be talking to Vanessa about these concerns. She's his wife. Of course she's more likely than not complicit with all the bad stuff that Fisk has done. Matt then dresses up as a task force officer to investigate the diner. He tries to kick out CSI so he can focus on the crime scene himself.
CSI's not done. Vigilante crime. It's task force jurisdiction. Leave these task force pricks.
It seems rather odd for the task force to kick the CSI out of investigation, considering they're both working under the government. It also seems odd that it's only one person showing up to say this, rather than a team of task force officers. Did none of these people think to ask Matt for a badge to verify his identity? Because this is rather suspicious behavior, and a common reason why people ask for badges within law enforcement is to verify if they truly are within law enforcement. This is something the public has a right to do, so you'd expect experienced CSI investigators to do the same when noticing oddly suspicious behavior. If they looked at his face, it would look very similar to the photos released of Matt Murdock, considering he's always shown wearing glasses, so the glasses here wouldn't be a great disguise if that's how the public is used to seeing Matt's face. Matt shows up to fight Bullseye, who immediately goes in for the fight instead of explaining that he wanted to bring Daredevil here to work with him. He should have said that from the very beginning, that he's on Matt's side, instead of waiting until about halfway into the fight to communicate this. Dex's plan is just complete nonsense here. What's next? Are they gonna have Bullseye try to make amends with Daredevil and try to redeem himself?
SK, Bullseye is clearly a maniac, so he obviously wouldn't try to redeem himself. You're an idiot if you think that would happen.
I need absolution.
Don't.
I betrayed people. Betrayed myself.
What? What are you talking about?
I'm not technically a priest yet. I can't administer the sacrament of penance, but
I'm not too picky. I'm one of the good guys.
I'm on your side. One good deed. What I did. What that woman had me do to your friend. But I had to get out. One good deed. It levels the scales again.
What is this one good deed? What is it you want to do?
What you wouldn't do. What you won't do. I'm gonna make things right. I'm gonna help you.
So, after Daredevil literally tried to kill Dex and refused to help him break out of general population so he could survive, all of a sudden, Dex wants to commit an act of contrition. All of a sudden, he wants to save Daredevil and commit one good deed to level the scales again?
No.
Let's recall that Dex is probably one of the most petty and psychotic individuals you will ever find. Because he felt betrayed by Nadim, he wanted to kill him and made his vengeful intentions very clear when he tried to play it cool around his family.
My issue is definitely with you. Stunt with the lawyer, Ray? That was cold. You convinced me that you had my back. I'll cover with Seema while you change your shirt. Now let's go. We're spending the day together, partner. Just want to say thank you. I wouldn't be here without your help. Especially you, Ray. Someday I'll pay you back for everything you did.
Even as a child he was like this. He killed Coach Bradley and didn't even care.
I wasn't sad. He was a jerk.
How was Coach Bradley a jerk?
Never let me do what I wanted. Didn't know shit about pitching.
What about last year when he named you MVP? Was he a jerk then?
No, he used to be awesome.
When you hit Coach Bradley, was that an accident?
No, it wasn't an accident.
All it took was Dex not having his way one time for him to be okay with killing Coach Bradley, despite having a good relationship with him in the past. Dex is a psycho. He's not capable of genuine empathy, nor does he care to make up for his actions through good deeds. His development was shaped by his lack of parental figures who could teach him right from wrong, and when he was given professional help, he didn't improve as a person. He became worse over the years.
I don't want another therapist.
I want to kill you. To punish you. I want to kill you for dying, for leaving me.
When Dex had his final session with his therapist, he was worried that he would fail to appear well-adjusted to society. He was afraid of being alone, and he needed Julie as his North Star to guide him.
I wanted to be more like you. You are so good and kind You help people right themselves. I've seen you do it 100 times. All I'm asking, just treat me like someone on the other end of the line.
Even when Julie was helping Dex and encouraging him while working at the hotline, behind her back, Dex would encourage the caller to shoot his stepdad instead of taking his own life.
This asshole stepdad of yours is giving you so much grief. Why take your own life? Why not? Take a deep breath, Craig.
Even under her influence, Dex was clearly unstable, but setting that aside, Julie was still Dex's best chance at being reformed and maintaining mental stability. The problem is that Fisk knew this and decided to kill Julie for it, so that Fisk could become that figure for Dex, and when Dex finds out that Fisk was playing him and ultimately betrays him, he tried to kill Fisk and his wife in retaliation as a final parting gift to them. Any hope for Dex reforming himself is down the drain, and Fisk made sure of it.
Julie wouldn't approve of you killing people, Dex. Stop saying her name.
Dex's violent nature is not something that makes Dex uncomfortable. In fact, his freedom to embrace that side of him is what made him interested in working for Fisk.
It's not too late to turn things around, Dex. I can help you cut a deal with the DA. We can take him down. 2 federal agents, like we were before. No, it's not gonna happen, right? I'm more than a Fed now. I feel more myself than I have in my whole life. Fisk gave me that.
Now, does this sound like someone who would feel any remorse for his actions? Does this sound like someone who would try to seek penance or make up for the ways that he has hurt people?
No! It's just dumb.
So right off the bat, Bullseye is already character assassinated. I know some people are going to say that Dex isn't truly redeeming himself, but he views his change as a redemption, but that still doesn't explain why he would change. Why would Dex feel the need to redeem himself? Why would Dex feel the need to make up for what he did and level the scales again? That relies on him regretting his past decisions, or valuing any form of reparations for those that he has wronged, which he has no reason to do. In his eyes, some of these people wronged him. They have him act remorseful, as if he wasn't laughing right after Foggy died. So where did this come from? Why would he want to save Daredevil instead of kill him in retaliation for trying to kill him beforehand? Someone trying to kill you is not something a person gets over very easily. And we're talking about Dex here, someone who is extremely petty, that he views someone's terminal illness as a form of abandonment. He doesn't have consideration for other people, he only thinks about himself. So he wouldn't have the emotional maturity to be understanding of why Daredevil tried to kill him. He'd only care about the fact that he tried to in the first place and see that as something to retaliate against. Again, this guy is a psychopath who feels no emotion when he enacts violence.
Did you enjoy the feeling you got when you killed those birdies? Is that why you're still killing? Bet it felt good at first, right? Then it's never the same after that.
Why would he change? You can't just have him want to redeem himself out of the blue and feel remorse for killing people beforehand. That fundamentally misses the point of his character. I also want to address this line.
What that woman had me do to your friend, but I had to get out. I had to get my mind back.
This seems to imply that Dex believes he didn't have a choice and he had to kill Foggy to get his own freedom, but that doesn't make any sense because he was already given his freedom before he made the kill, which is how he killed Foggy in the first place. He wasn't exactly covert about the fact that it was him either.
Hello, Karen.
But setting that aside, if Dex already had his freedom, why did he believe he needed to kill Foggy to have his freedom? It's already a problem in Season 1 that he didn't use his freedom to target the Fisks, but trying to justify it by saying he believes he had no other choice for his freedom only makes less sense. They treat it as Dex was disgusted by this decision, but he had to do it for his freedom and he wants to make up for it, which I've already explained why that doesn't work.
What is it you want to do?
What you wouldn't do. What you won't do.
If Dex knows that Daredevil wouldn't be on his side, then why is he even directing Daredevil to his apartment and telling him about his plan? He'd know that Daredevil would try to stop him, even regardless of if he learned what he was planning, since he literally tried to keep him in prison. Telling us that Dex expects Daredevil's refusal to help him, but having him do the plan anyway, just makes Dex look like a massive idiot. Dex then pushes down his hostage and Matt catches her. I don't know what he's struggling with for a few seconds here, but regardless, he should be very close to Dex as soon as he starts running. Dex didn't have that much of a head start, and he had to pause midway to find a vehicle. Daredevil would have to travel the same distance, so I don't know why he didn't catch up to Bullseye, when Bullseye was literally losing the fight and would be even more fatigued.
The marshals are on their way. They'll keep you safe.
How do you know this? What if the marshals are corrupted by Fisk? Why not have Daredevil check for this before sending the crewmate with him? Why not have him escort the crewmate on the way to where he needs to be? Or keep him at the hideout until a safer plan is made? Also, Buck finds out about him and decides to shoot him for some reason, but they tried to interrogate the last crewmate to investigate what he did with the information he had. Why didn't they do the same with this guy? Vanessa then arrives at the boxing match. somehow. How didn't Fisk's security prevent Vanessa from leaving where she was? He would have made it very clear that she must not leave, and anyone who disobeys this would obviously be killed. So why didn't his security prevent her from not only leaving Albany, but also entering Fogwell's? This is what allows Bullseye to kill her, and given how tight security is, why didn't Dex bring a gun? He surely would have had a large supply after he killed a bunch of task force officers. He'd only need to kill one of them to obtain a gun. Given how heavy security would be at this event, I don't know why he didn't bring a gun. Daredevil then shows up and saves Bullseye from Fisk. They both crash through the wall, yet somehow Bullseye gets a head start from Matt when he literally got shot. Somehow, he recovered quicker from that crash. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. This was also a 1 out of 10. I know this is going to feel repetitive to say, but this season is repetitively bad.
This is how things are now.
Episode 5 is a unique episode in the sense that it focuses a lot on trying to capitalize on its connection to the Netflix era, as opposed to moving the plot forward. So I'm gonna have to structure this section a bit differently. I want to start with how it ties itself to the Netflix show, then focus on Born Again's main plotline afterwards. In one of the flashbacks we get for the Daredevil Season 1 time period, we see that Matt and Foggy work with a client to reduce his sentencing while they're working at Landman and Zack. Okay, we gotta stop already. This is already breaking canon from Daredevil Season 1.
How long have you been practicing law?
What time is it? It's 12:22 a.m. About 7 hours.
How do you contradict one of the most memorable jokes from the Netflix show? This is from the very first episode, which is establishing basic background information about these characters. They explicitly state that Karen is their first client.
You've never done this before?
If you were to hire us, then yes, you would be our first client.
So already, this flashback breaks continuity with the Netflix show. It also lacks a purpose on a premise level, since Daredevil Season 1 already showed us their early law experience. We already saw how Matt and Foggy grew together in law practice, and the show utilized Nelson and Murdoch to show the development since then. So what could possibly justify these constant flashbacks to the work at Landman and Zack that already contradicts Daredevil Season 1?
Guys I work with want me dead. I mean, that's the whole reason you two are even here in the first place. Cop a deal, they told you, right? No trial. You wanna know why? Because they got about 10 guys on the inside just waiting to take me out, all right? That's how this ends. That's how this goes, all right? So it's not 3 to 4, it's not 6 to 8 if I'm a good little boy, all right? It's 24 hours. I'm a dead man the second I go in. I'm not signing shit.
What are you talking about?
You two don't even know who you work for, do you?
So this clearly establishes the stakes here. Fisk wants a deal to be made, so Ray ends up in prison and gets killed by his guys on the inside. And indirectly, he's relying on Matt and Foggy to bring this deal to fruition. It's strange that Fisk doesn't just have Ray killed in his holding cell by the police like he did in Season 1 of the original show. But regardless, the intention is to have Ray killed. So upon learning that this guy is going to be killed by people from the inside, what does Matt do with this information?
Everything discovered in this warrant is fruit of the poison tree.
It's inadmissible, which means that piece of paper is
get out of jail free card. What do we do? Ray, Lionel, he had a hard life, man.
Oh, cue the violin.
His dad, he was not a good guy. And their mom, Suzanne, she drank a lot. She died when we were in the 8th grade, okay? He never had a chance. I want to do the right thing.
I don't know, Foggy. I don't know.
Whoever he was working with, they're gonna kill him when he's inside.
Might be the definition of consequences.
Why would Matt be okay with sending Ray to prison if he knows that people are going to abuse the system to kill him? Why is Matt uninterested in finding out why that's going to happen and how he can prevent it? His first resort is to send the guy to his death, and he, for some reason, believes that's not his problem.
All I know is if he goes to jail, he dies.
And all I know is that might not be our problem.
What? What are you talking about?
This is the same character who didn't have it in him to kill the guy who killed his father, and he resented Elektra for trying to push him to kill that guy. Matt grew up believing in redemption, and that his soul is damned if he takes a life.
I know my soul is damned if I take his life.
So why would he be okay with sending him off to prison without even finding a way to have him saved? He's in a unique position to save Ray's life, and he does nothing, without a care in the world. He doesn't even seem sympathetic to his upbringing that led him to his life of crime. On top of this, Matt seems more concerned about their personal stability, while Foggy is more concerned about the morality of their decisions.
Jeff made it sound like we're not only off the case, but our badges might not work on Monday.
What makes this stand out even more is that Foggy shouldn't be the one convincing Matt to make the better choice and to learn to show mercy. It's seems as if they flipped the morality between Foggy and Matt, where in Born Again, Foggy is more understanding of criminals, willing to push for second chances, and prioritizes morality over their personal stability, while Matt needs to be inspired by Foggy to reach this point. I say this is a flip because the dynamic was the opposite in the original show, where it was Matt that was understanding of criminals and was pushing for second chances. It was Matt that wanted to leave Landman and Zach because they couldn't really help people there. It was Foggy who wanted to stay there with them and prioritize their personal stability over morality. Now let's look at some clips from the Netflix show and really see if their dynamic in Born Again can coexist with it.
They're gonna offer us the job. No more interning in a broom closet. We're each gonna have our own office with a view of something. Why do you have that look on your face?
We must dissent from the indifference. We must dissent from the apathy. We must dissent from the
fear. Yeah, I know. You've read it a million times.
You think what happened in there today was right?
No, Matt, I don't think it was right. But according to the law, if he did disclose trade secrets to a third party other than his doctor...
He didn't. Is this what you want, to be a part of that? Protecting corporations from people that need help?
You know how many of the other interns would kill for a real spot here?
Maybe those aren't the kind of people we should be working with.
I'm gonna steal as many bagels as I can fit in this box. You as my partner, there's no telling when I'll be able to afford a real meal.
We will get by.
It was Matt that got them to leave Landman and Zach. It wasn't Foggy. He wanted to stay with them because he saw this as more financially stable and better for their careers in the long run. Matt cared more about the morality behind their choices, yet they have Foggy spend all of this money on Ray at the end of the Born Again episode.
When I came back to the office and found the empty book.
I'm sorry. I'll pay it back.
And there I was thinking the Murdoch and Nelson Fund was supposed to be about the future.
It is, Matt. But not just ours.
I'm sorry, Foggy is literally the same character who said this.
I don't have any money.
Well, it was lovely to meet you, Miss Page.
Does this sound like the appropriate figure to teach Matt compassion and mercy? Or to use religion to teach Matt about redemption and kindness? It doesn't, which is why they had someone like Father Lantom serve that purpose.
Aren't you supposed to be the Catholic one here? How about mercy? There's got to be something about that in the Bible. Second chances, redemption.
This shouldn't have to convince Matt because he already believed in redemption. Father Lantom guided him all these years, and Matt's rule against killing was established as early as his college years, shown by him refusing to kill the guy who killed his dad.
Matt's Matt because he believes that everyone deserves a shot at redemption. It's a Catholic thing. That's why he doesn't kill people. If he crosses that line, Matt will never be able to forgive himself.
This episode acts as if Matt needs Foggy to learn that lesson. He shouldn't. Father Lantom was the one that helped Matt develop his sense of morality.
And he expected those of us who were to look for ways to do good in our community. Not even the kids got out of that requirement. Sure, I'm not the only one who remembers his suggestion we give some of our First Communion money to the poor box. And that was his way, to think of the community and the individuals in it. For me personally, he spent many years trying to get me to face my own fears, to understand how they enslaved me, how they divided me from the people that I love. He counseled me to transcend my fears, to be brave enough to forgive, and see the possibilities of being a man without fear. That was his legacy. And now it's up to all of us to live up to it.
The erasure of Father Lantom's influence and importance to Matt is one of the biggest disservices that Born Again does to the original show, and this was a product of trying to contrive Foggy as the one who teaches Matt to show mercy and compassion to criminals, even though Matt already had the capacity for this by his refusal to kill. Foggy had to be the one to teach Matt to prioritize morality over personal stability, even though that's something Matt had to inspire Foggy to overcome in the original show. Even in Season 2, we had a very similar situation, where Frank was being put on trial, and was going to suffer from the death penalty. Under Born Again's logic, Foggy would be the most upstanding in this scenario and have to inspire Matt to be better, but that couldn't be further from the spirit of the original show.
New York will sleep better knowing Frank Castle's behind bars.
Sleep even better when he's dead.
Dead? New York doesn't have the death penalty.
Yeah, but Delaware does. D.A. Reyes just has to link the killings to Castle, and then they'll be well within their rights to extradite him, and, you know.
Or we could help Castle ourselves.
No way.
Yeah, we don't have to defend him. We could just negotiate a plea deal without extradition or an electric chair. Castle goes away, Reyes gets her ticker tape parade. Everyone wins.
Everyone except us. You see the front door? The open sign is up, but nobody's walking in. If we keep messing with Reyes, we'll be shuttered by the end of the month.
Come on, if we stand up to her, we could actually end her incessant bullying.
And possibly save this guy's life.
A murderer who shot at you.
Failed a fair plea and show the DA our justice system still has a backbone.
This is a bad idea. I can't believe we're even discussing this. He chained you to a roof. You of all people should know he's a psychopath.
His methodology is clearly wrong, but in his own kind of way, he was trying to do something noble.
Do you hear yourself?
Yeah, he wanted justice, Foggy, like us.
So we should risk everything. Our firm, our reputation, and let's be honest, our safety? We should put it all on the line to help him? Kinda, yeah. Is this about saving a man or saving a vigilante?
He's a person, like you, Foggy, like me. And he shouldn't have to die.
You're talking career suicide.
If we walk away, we're letting him die.
Matt had the stronger moral conviction, and that's why Foggy was the one who had to be inspired to be better. It was never about Foggy cementing Matt's moral convictions, it was the other way around. Born Again fundamentally misunderstands this, and not only damages the consistency of Matt and Foggy as characters, but it ruins the point of their dynamic in the early seasons. The flashbacks with Matt and Foggy don't add to the story, they end up padding the pacing because it doesn't present any useful information. It doesn't add any necessary context to better understand why Matt would show mercy to Dex. We have the original series for that. It doesn't enhance Matt and Foggy's dynamic or backstory. If anything, it damages it. And this took up so much of the episode, and is part of the reason it ended up being largely filler. The same problem is applicable to the Fisk and Vanessa flashbacks. None of them serve an integral purpose to justify their screen time. We know that Vanessa runs an art gallery. We know that Fisk ran a criminal organization. We know how Fisk and Vanessa met. The original series is all we needed. The most it provides is a retcon that Buck was associated with Fisk since season 1, and while it serves some character building purposes, Buck is not the main focus of the flashbacks anyway, and takes up a small amount of them. And like with the flashbacks with Matt and Foggy, the Fisk flashbacks introduce problems too.
In light of the Russians, we should start diversifying. In this new world, we can no longer be old-fashioned in our way of thinking.
In light of the Russians, the only developments with the Russians that would provoke Fisk into having to adapt to the new world is the growing tension caused by their reduced reliability. This was caused by Daredevil.
He would like to know why you're short on the cargo totals.
There was a problem on the docks. Barrett and our men were attacked with Doc and a black mask.
You were light again this week.
There was a complication.
Madam Gao and Mr. Nobu have expressed their disappointment.
We have not heard of this.
That's because we've been talking behind your back about how the Russians can't seem to handle one man running around in a mask.
He's weakened your operation.
So what is Fisk talking about when he says, in light of the Russians? The conflict with the Russians didn't occur until Daredevil existed. Daredevil didn't exist until after they quit Landman and Zack.
Then, one night, right after we quit Landman and Zack, I heard it.
So if Matt was still working under Landman and Zack throughout the duration of the episode, then the conflict with the Russians wouldn't have existed and provoked Fisk to adapt. This breaks continuity with the original show. Again.
Come to think of it, I have a friend who runs an art gallery. It could be an interesting market for us.
Tell me the story of how we met.
This is it. This is the gallery.
Okay, so this is going to break your brains a bit, so try to keep track of what I'm saying. This is the same time frame where Matt and Foggy were working at Landman and Zack. Since we see Buck show up at a similar time Foggy and Matt leave, who they met on the same day that Wesley mentioned the art gallery that his friend owns. So this can't be after the first episode of season 1 of the original show. That's when they had their own firm. So how did Fisk meet Vanessa the same night when Matt and Foggy were part of Landman and Zack? He's shown wearing the same striped outfit in all of his flashbacks that appear to play out in a sequential order to one another. And yeah, I know this doesn't match his suit in the original show. That's going to be an issue no matter what. But the show made no attempt to indicate that these are two different days, given that he looks exactly the same and the flashbacks are shown concurrently with the ones with Vanessa and Foggy. And they also got the interactions wrong. When Vanessa was wearing the white dress, that was when they officially met, but it wasn't the first time Fisk showed up and spoke to her, which Born Again seems to think is the case.
I've arranged for a more private showing, but this is it. This is the gallery.
So judging by this dialogue, Born Again seems to think she was wearing the white dress when Fisk first arrived at the gallery, and that's when they met. But that's not how the conversation went before Fisk went in to officially meet her, because this wasn't his first time. Vanessa was wearing a different dress when he entered the gallery for the first time, and when he was about to enter the gallery when she had a white dress, this is actually how the conversation went.
You stay with the car. Sir. Need to attend to this alone. Thank you, Wesley.
Notice how the exchange is completely different, despite trying to show what happened that same day. Also, Vanessa wasn't in view of the car. He had to go upstairs to find Vanessa and see the artwork. And again, that's not what happened when Fisk first entered the gallery. He first entered to look at Rabbit in a Snowstorm and spoke to Vanessa briefly. They didn't fully meet yet. The day they met was when Fisk returned to the same gallery, not when he was first introduced to it. I also want to mention that Wesley says he has a friend who runs the art gallery.
I have a friend who runs an art gallery.
I assume this is referring to Vanessa, since Vanessa is shown to run it every single time. Yet the original show made it clear that Vanessa and Wesley didn't have much of a connection.
I have a friend who runs an art gallery.
Wesley is more than an assistant. He's my friend.
So you do have those.
If she already knew Wesley, then Fisk has no reason to mention this, and she has no reason to be shocked by this.
The art world, pretension, and airs of posing as something meaningful.
Why would Fisk say this? That's not what he thought in the original show. He was captivated by the rabbit in a snowstorm painting and found meaning in it on his own. It's how he first started to connect with Vanessa.
People always ask me, how can we charge so much for what amounts to gradations of white? I tell them it's not about the artist's name or the skill required, not even about the art itself. All that matters is, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel alone.
How are you enjoying Rabbit in a Snowstorm?
You remember?
Of course. It's one of my favorite pieces.
I hung it in my bedroom. It's the last thing I see every night.
I'm partial to Italian.
We agree on more than art.
Even before this, Fisk showed a clear interest in art. He wanted to decorate his personal home with it.
He's indisposed. With what? Art. Paintings. His penthouse is finally ready.
If Fisk didn't find the art world meaningful, then he wouldn't find meaning in a painting, he wouldn't want to decorate his room with art, he wouldn't have connected to Vanessa through art. There are so many contradictions in how this tries to tell the story as to how Vanessa and Wilson met, and we didn't need to see this story again because we already saw it in the original show. It's such a waste of time, and as for the last bothersome contradiction to the original show, let's take a look at this exchange.
You know, I was thinking, instead of Murdoch and Nelson, Nelson and Murdoch.
I like that.
Yeah? I bumped you up.
I love that.
You're going up in the world, buddy.
Not even this is consistent either. We already saw the moment where they thought of Nelson and Murdoch when they were in college.
Murdoch and Nelson, attorneys at law.
Nelson and Murdoch. Sounds better. You think?
Yeah, trust me.
Can't see worth shit, but my hearing's spectacular.
We're gonna be the best damn avocados this city's ever seen.
But SK, they were drunk when they said that, and friends repeat stuff to each other all the time.
I could start by pointing out that Matt naturally felt Nelson and Murdoch was better on pure instinct, but I don't even have to do that. The purpose behind the scene is to highlight pivotal events within their history, not just mundane and easily forgettable exchanges. The reason this moment has significance in the original show is because this is the origin of their firm's name, which sets up Foggy writing this down on a napkin. Now the scene means nothing if you're going to tell me that they just forgot about it because they were drunk. There's no point to that scene anymore if that's where your line of defense is for Born Again contradicting this, which in itself is a different form of disrespecting the original show anyway. And it doesn't even achieve anything with these characters besides repeating something we've already seen done before with much better build-up to it. It's so apparent that Born Again is a complete departure from the original show in a way that makes you question if a careful rewatch of the original show was done.
Nope.
And this is just covering the major contradictions to the Netflix era, since this episode decided to spend so much time on it. I haven't even talked about the main plot in this episode. We're shown Vanessa in the hospital and Fisk is panicking, to the point of standing in front of the professionals and preventing them from doing their jobs to save her. I don't know why he's physically stepping in their way and pushing away doctors that are trying to do their jobs. While Fisk can be irrational, we've seen a similar situation in Daredevil Season 1, where he wasn't nearly this stupid while worried about Vanessa dying. The key difference is that Fisk is allowing them to use their medical supplies to do their work while he's present. He's not pushing them away, and his disagreement with the doctors isn't about if he's physically right beside her in a way that obstructs their work. His disagreement is that he can't be there during the operation at all. He just wants to at least be there and see them doing the work, not literally get in their way.
I'm coming with her.
And even then, the doctor tells him he can't be there, and Fisk acknowledges this when waiting for an update instead of relentlessly fighting them and their medical supplies.
Don't you know who I am?
Doesn't matter. Fill out the paperwork. We'll update you on her condition as soon as we know anything.
He only has to be told once and he gets the picture. In Born Again, Fisk comes across as a moron because he's actively pushing them while they're using their supplies, and he has to be told over and over again to back down.
You don't have to do this. This is balance. You know it. Leave me here. None of this matters now.
This episode builds upon the issues with Dex's character in the previous episodes. Why does he believe it's balance for him to die for killing Foggy? Since when did Dex ever feel the need to make up for the lives he takes? Why is Foggy the tipping off point for Dex when he's killed dozens of people, including one close to Matt? This weird shift in character is never explained and comes out of nowhere. Dex isn't a character driven by morality, even if he pretends to when trying to uphold an image in front of people. He also didn't kill Wilson Fisk. He only got Vanessa. So why does he think his work is done? Why is he ready to die? Didn't he want to kill Wilson in Daredevil Season 3 and Born Again? Why is he fine with Fisk running off scot-free?
How did you find me here?
And how many hospitals do you think there are in?
Baby, you can't be here right now. Nobody can know where she is. It's the mayor's not in a good place.
Why is the task force allowing people to enter the building for news coverage? If they don't want anyone to enter and gain information on Vanessa's condition, why don't they secure the building so that only possible patients can enter?
I've earned this many times over. It's okay.
Think she's dead? I don't know.
Why is Dex fine with dying if he doesn't even know if Vanessa is dead? So in his mind, she could have survived, and he'd be fine with dying before he even knows if she's dead or not? Why would Dex be okay with dying if he's not certain that Vanessa died?
That makes no sense.
Your friend, Fisk's wife, scales settled, and I'm ready for judgment.
Why is Dex fixated on Foggy when he also killed Father Lantom? He killed random people at the bulletin and the church. None of that caused him to seek penance and try to balance the scales, so why is it any different this time?
That night you threw me off the roof, I was supposed to die. 4-story, no one survives that.
Maybe that's the grand design.
You're getting it.
Which to this day, the show still hasn't explained how he survived that. But setting that aside, why does Dex view this from the perspective of this being part of God's overarching plan? Why would he care? What he would care about is the fact that Matt tried to kill him, send him off to prison, and rejected his plea to get him out of general population so he doesn't die. These are things Dex completely overlooks for no reason, and it especially can't make sense for a character as petty as Dex, considering it's in his nature to hold grudges against people, even if his grudges are unreasonable.
No, mate, can you do me a favor and fuck off?
And who the hell are you?
I'm the one telling you to fuck off. Keep up.
Why are reporters still allowed to enter the building? They should be completely banned from entering, and the task force should be surrounding the building.
The mayor is aware we're going to Albany. There are pivotal moments in a man's life, Daniel, which define what kind of man he is. And now it seems someone, God knows who, has leaked the hospital to the press.
But you're not saying you think it's me, are you?
Let's just take a left in here.
Fuck, am I in trouble?
Be right back.
Well, maybe I'll just come in with you, get some beef jerky, and help you out, or whatever.
It's kind of you, Daniel, but I'll take care of it. Just sit tight, yeah?
Just sit tight? He thinks you believe he leaked something. Not only is that a reasonable suspicion given Daniel's history with leaking, but if Daniel thinks he's cooked, he's just going to drive away. He could easily do that. So why is Buck leaving him under the impression that he might come after him? He even leaves with the saw and shovel, which should make it obvious that he might be trying to cover up a body. It could easily be Daniel's. And honestly, it should be, since Buck has every reason to suspect that Daniel is at fault for leaking the information, or at least paid off to leave their operation and not say anything. He should be seen as a liability and suspected for any subsequent leaks.
We should be safe here for now.
Why are you here of all places? Why didn't you go to the hideout that you thought to use in Daredevil Season 3? Matt and Karen were able to avoid the entire FBI searching the church by doing this, so why don't they hide in the same area?
Nurses, doctors, lawyers, vigilantes, assassins, killing people, saving people. Act like it makes a difference. Like it matters at all.
Well, it clearly matters to you because you wanted to make things right. Balance the scales, as you put it. Now Dex thinks nothing matters now? So Dex thinks it doesn't matter if he gets revenge on the Fisks? He doesn't think it matters if he succeeds in killing them? Why does his character keep contradicting himself over and over again? Dex's whole speech doesn't really say anything meaningful. I can't grasp a coherent idea from what he's saying because he either contradicts himself or babbles on with meaningless tangents.
Go. Don't be an idiot.
Why does Dex want to die? He wants to kill Wilson and Vanessa Fisk.
I killed your friend. I didn't think twice.
You were literally laughing after it happened. Why are you using that as a reason to leave you to die? Why are you remorseful to any degree? You've killed tons of people in Season 3 and didn't care whatsoever, and the job isn't done. Wilson Fisk is still alive. Why would he change? Then Matt leaves the building thinking he can't save them both. Then he gets back in so he can uplift Dex. I guess Dex wants to be saved now? He can't make up his mind whatsoever, and I think by this point, Dex is destroyed beyond repair. He's unfixably assassinated.
It's too much! Too much!
That was the worst episode in the series so far. There was actually nothing good about the storytelling. It only did constant damage to the canon and its characters. Straight up 0 out of 10.
It's what happens when you break the canon.
The next episode opens with Fisk crying and angrily killing the doctor who tried to save Vanessa's life. I don't know why Fisk did this here instead of a private location, which is what he's shown to do beforehand when trying to hurt or kill people who have wronged him. He didn't even try to attack Karen for killing Wesley unless she kept pushing him over and over. The doctor was telling him how sorry he was for it, and when he did try to kill Karen, he sent the fake Daredevil to do it. Fisk is supposed to be smart in these situations, and there's no way they could possibly cover up his death. The doctor died in the building, and he'd be constantly needed. He didn't clock out by this point, so they can't believe he naturally ended his shift. How could they explain what happened to the doctor and cover up his death? They'd all know he was trying to save Vanessa during this time, and Fisk was the only one who was with him, the guy known for being a crime boss. We then see Jessica Jones at her house, where she's revealed to have a kid. Now I want to address this real quick, since it's likely that her kid would have powers since Jessica's powers are within her DNA.
But we were both patients at an off-the-grid experimental program called IGH. They tried to heal people using genetic editing, but there were side effects.
In the Jessica Jones show, which I recommend watching because it's great, a common trait of Jessica's was her hatred of her powers and the idea of being a superhero.
You don't get it, Jess. You're free. You always said you didn't ask for this, but I did. I've got it covered.
She commonly states how she never asked for these powers, and didn't want Trish to have powers because of how they caused her to make reckless decisions. She let them get to her head too much, and she abused her powers to the point of eventually going to prison. So given how this is Jessica's attitude, why would she want to have a kid when they would grow up to have powers like this? Powers which she sees as a burden on herself as an adult, especially since Alias Investigations gets attacked a lot. It's not impossible for Jessica to change her perspective on this, but if we don't see that change, or if it isn't properly explained, then it's not justified in the story.
Do you remember that night at the Clinton Street Church? He killed Father Lantom, and then he hurt you so bad, I actually thought I'd lost you for a minute. You told me that you were gonna kill Fisk, and I told you not to. What if I was wrong? And what if that's what it's like with you and Fisk, him or you?
Understandable. Fisk is constantly dodging prison time for unexplained reasons, so I can see why she thinks this is necessary. Later, Daredevil and Jessica Jones meet up to talk about what happened at her house. They plan to go after the task force while they're smuggling guns. For some reason, neither of them think to be stealthy about this, even when Jessica explains that she's weaker after her pregnancy. Again, time to pull up the She-Hulk clip.
How about I just smash our way in?
Because they have weapons, Jennifer? Stealth's the way to go, okay? Trust me, I've done this a million times.
I guess you forgot about using stealth. Also, what did they achieve in the scene? What exactly was the plan? Just to destroy the guns? Why not just collect evidence of the guns? Because all this plan did was result in blowing up the building and possibly killing people.
I wanted it to happen, is that wrong?
Why did Matt think it was a good idea to start this gunfight in a room with explosives that could get all of them killed? Jessica is the one who kicks an explosive into the task force officers, even though she has a rule against killing in her own show. She literally tried to get Trish arrested for killing people, even though she considers Trish a sister in her show. It almost kills Daredevil too. In fact, it could have taken the building down. And what would beating up the task force here even achieve? They should instead be investigating the guy who attacked Jessica's home. They could be interrogating any of these task force officers. They could look for the one who actually tried helping them out so they can gain more information. Yet neither of them think of anything like this, even though Daredevil has experience with interrogating people and Jessica Jones is a private investigator.
He's not running for re-election.
Wait, how do you know that? Did he tell you?
After the funeral, guess his heart's not in it after Vanessa.
So this should be a very obvious lie for BB. She knows that Daniel's loyal to Fisk despite all of what he's done. Daniel has shown before that he's on to BB. The idea that Fisk would just give up his power is extremely suspicious. His power is what helps him evade prison. So why would she believe he just gave that up? It's a painfully obvious lie.
We're looking for you. I heard you lost yours.
Why did it take so long for Powell to address this? Wouldn't they have given him his card straight away? Surely they'd know that Daredevil must have stolen it off him in order to gain access in the first place.
Foggy for my freedom, me for Foggy. It's just an equation.
Why does Dex still want to die when Fisk is still out there?
Goodbye. I can't let you do it, Karen.
You keep choosing the wrong people, Fisk! This thing over the people who love you!
How can you say that?
Because it's true. Because you let them live and people die.
Yeah, no, we're not doing this. I was willing to give Karen's willingness to kill the benefit of the doubt by assuming she only really means this regarding Fisk, which is understandable because from her perspective, there isn't a choice. She could believe this because everything they do to Fisk results in them randomly evading consequences. While that's bad writing, she's still a character in the universe who experiences these things, so she can reasonably believe that they have to kill Fisk. But Dex? Dex is locked up and he will stay in jail if he gets turned in. He doesn't have the same level of control or influence as Fisk. Karen's position goes from being fairly nuanced to being really stupid. She just wants to kill anyone who's bad now, and she blames Matt for this? Whatever happened to wanting to preserve Matt's soul and believing in redemption?
It has to be done, Karen.
I
killed my brother. I was high, and I was drunk, and I was angry, and I shouldn't have been driving, and it changed everything. But no matter what I do, there is no atoning for that. Okay, there's no way to come back from killing anyone, even Fisk. It will change everything that you feel about yourself.
Matt's Matt because he believes that everyone deserves a shot at redemption. It's a Catholic thing. That's why he doesn't kill people. If he crosses that line, Matt will never be able to forgive himself.
Yeah, we'd really lose him, wouldn't we?
Forever this time.
Again, I'm fine with Karen believing that Fisk may be an exception because they literally can't use the system to beat him, but they can with Dex, and Karen would care about the fact that Matt's soul would be lost forever if he did kill. There's no going back from that. Why is this never even considered in the conversation? It removes any reasonability Karen's position could have. Also, this isn't even in character for Karen in Born Again. She didn't want Matt to go after the task force because it might come down to him killing them.
It'll be Josie's all over again. You go in there, you will die, or you will kill.
Even then, she wanted Matt to avoid a kill or be killed situation.
I'm not him anymore.
And you think that will help?
Doesn't make it worse.
Why would she want him to make the same mistake again when she already condemned the action, even after Foggy died? This is completely out of nowhere for Karen, and this is character assassination.
Want to know what happened to me?
I grew up.
Why? The governor is pulling her support.
Everyone starts protesting Fisk now. I guess a bunch of kids starting a protest was enough to start a mass protest, but not the many other well-documented crimes that Fisk has committed.
All those casualties will be forgotten.
They even play a video of all these people testifying what Fisk did, and the show plays it off as this pivotal moment where everyone's testimonies is enough to turn the city against Fisk. No one thought to play Ray Nadim's video though. I guess that's forgotten about forever. I guess no vigilantes thought to go to the protest either. Spider-Man would realize that the task force could violently retaliate, which would call for his help. The Defenders and the Avengers would realize the same. Karen, for some reason, is fine with bringing Angela and her friend along to the protest. Why are Daredevil and his team fine with bringing children into a potential battlefield? Did they expect the task force not to react violently?
I know it was you.
How did you know it was him? He reported the theft of his card as he should have. He showed no clear signs of working with Daredevil. How does Powell come to this conclusion? And why did he publicly execute him in front of his own officers? Now they're getting suspicious of him and worried the same could happen to them for no reason.
Karen fucking Page.
Why doesn't he just shoot her? She's known to be working with Daredevil. Fisk wants her dead because she killed Wesley. If you want me to believe that they can just shoot down random civilians and claim it's because they were vigilantes, why can't you do the same with Karen? She's essentially acting as a vigilante by aiding Daredevil on the field.
He's just standing there.
This episode is a 2 out of 10 at best. Very little of this works, which is not surprising at all by this point.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Episode 7 follows up by showing Daredevil just left Fisk behind, and nothing came of the fight. What was the point of it then? Why was this in the last episode if it did nothing to progress the story? Karen gets arrested. For some reason, she doesn't get killed when Fisk specifically wanted her dead in Season 3. They routinely try to get away with killing people at random. Why didn't Fisk send a guard to do the job like he tried to do in Season 1 of the original show? He chokes her for a bit so he can get away with that, but he can't get away with some guard trying to kill her?
Oh, well, that's convenient.
You sent your assholes to my house.
It was a mistake. They were just supposed to tell you to back off.
What do you mean, back off? Back off from what? Wilson Fisk? How did he know that she was going after Fisk? She was working in the shadows to get information. She would have been heavily disguised while doing her work.
Don't forget, I am the only one that can connect you with Luke.
Where is he?
He is overseas. He's doing the Lord's work, so you don't have to.
So, Luke left Harlem while Fisk was the mayor? This guy was only brought into the equation in Season 2. That's when he gained interest in covering for Fisk. So what was Luke doing beforehand? What made him agree to leave the city and suddenly work overseas? Because some shady guy asked him to? Luke wouldn't leave his city unless it was for a very good reason. And the show has yet to provide any reason at all. It's actually gonna get worse in the finale.
Why are you covering for him?
I'm not anymore. It's actually the opposite. The governor wants Fisk out. Except he just went apeshit on his own voters. I don't think she can do it.
What do you mean she can't do it? All she needs to do is use her position to restrain Fisk's political power. She can even reach higher-ups, which are likely connected to Sam Wilson. If she got Captain America involved, that would be a pretty big deal, and Captain America would absolutely side with her, not to mention the rest of the Avengers.
Fisk is gonna kill the governor.
Fisk was one of his puppets in the governor's office. New York is his.
No, it's not. If the governor gets assassinated by Fisk, then this will literally get the higher powers in the government involved. The president would get involved. The Avengers would get involved, which Matt still doesn't try, by the way, even though he can call She-Hulk, who can get other heroes in the know about this. And by this point, I actually couldn't tell you why the sorcerers haven't done anything yet. Like I said in the last video, there's still people who live in the city. They react to and rely on the outside world. And No Way Home shows that they have people working for them, and I assume they'd care about the living conditions of their workers. If Fisk has been in power for this long, surely one of them would have thought to get rid of Fisk because his task force can be a threat to the Sanctums. And you know, in the grand calculus of New York, Fisk's sacrifice means infinitely more than his life. And again, Doctor Strange and Wong would still be considered vigilantes and therefore be potential targets of the task force. It would especially be bad if the task force got their hands on superpowered individuals, which are pretty much everywhere in the MCU, and we know how much that has caused issues in the Sanctum. With how much this keeps escalating, I don't know why they don't get involved.
You go in there and bust her out, you are the criminal he says you are.
She's not safe there.
If he was gonna hurt her, he'd have done it already. Look, I'm told he went to the precinct, they talked, he left.
No, that's not how it works. Fisk could have any number of reasons to not kill Karen as soon as they talk. What if he's relying on a guard to do it? What if he's waiting to do it at night rather than during the day? Which is what he tried the first time when he tried to have Karen killed. What if that's his plan again? What if he went there to torment her? How can Matt or Cherry be sure that nothing bad will happen to her if she gets left in prison? It's stupid for Matt to trust this line of reasoning. Matt then frees Dex and trusts him to carry out one good deed.
You wanted one good deed, right? Part of me wants to kill you. Part of me needs to forgive you. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm past trying to understand why Dex would actually want forgiveness, but I also can't fathom why Daredevil would trust Dex to be set free. He can easily kill people along the way. This isn't someone Matt should be okay with working with. While he did work with the Punisher in Season 1, it was out of necessity and he didn't choose this. And at least the Punisher doesn't kill innocent people. Dex has killed innocent people and laughed about it. He can't trust Dex whatsoever.
Now go, disappear, die, I don't care.
Matt would not say this. First of all, he should care if Dex dies. Matt cares to preserve all life, and believes that to lose one is to lose any hope for their redemption. This is not something that Matt is apathetic to. Second of all, this is a really bad thing to say to someone who has displayed suicidal tendencies. Dex was telling Matt to let him die. He believed that dying was the way to make up for killing Foggy. And as soon as Matt brings up the other people he killed, he tells him he can die for all he cares. He wouldn't say this, especially to someone displaying suicidal tendencies.
You know I can't make any promises, right?
Wouldn't believe you if you did.
So why would you trust him to protect the governor? What if he kills a bunch of people in doing so? What if he's so reckless that his actions get the governor killed by accident? Why would Matt just trust a crazed killer to be left unattended? Oh, and Brett Mahoney finally shows up. Don't know what he's been doing for the entirety of Born Again Season 1. Matt and Karen then reunite after their argument and apologize to each other.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said what I did.
And that's it? Karen just gave up on her position? I thought she firmly believed that Fisk needed to die and that Matt was at fault for not having the will to kill. Now she's just over it and they never talk about it again? This was barely an arc. We don't see what caused her to change her mind.
I have to stay to face him in court.
Why do you believe this will work? The system clearly failed when everything Nadeem said was admissible in court.
Every damn word.
It's also strange how the task force isn't surrounding the precinct or how there aren't any cameras watching the surrounding area. Karen is in this precinct and could be broken out by Daredevil. This could maybe work if this was part of Kingpin's plan, possibly to bait and trap Daredevil, but it clearly wasn't since nothing happens when they both talk.
I started the BB report in my dorm room. I put every dime and every hour of my life into it. People trusted it. It was real. And you turned it into some plastic commercial for fascist New York.
Which is your fault. You literally helped Fisk win by taking his campaign seriously. He thanked you for this in episode 2 of season 1, and you still drop coverages where people speak positively about him. If you didn't like what Daniel was doing, you could have booted him. This is your fault for being dumb.
He killed my uncle.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do. And you do too. You've just decided to turn a blind eye, and that is your problem.
So why are you friends with him? Again, their friendship can't be believable if he's turning a blind eye to a mob boss killing your uncle. That makes no sense. Why would BB even trust him with anything at that point? And why does she basically confirm that she has plans and intentions to negatively report on Fisk? This would put her on his radar. And why confirm she's working with Karen Page when Daniel questions this?
You were working with Karen Page? How could you?
How could I?
She should instead be asking Daniel why he's asking these questions and denying as much as possible.
You've just decided to turn a blind eye, and that is your problem.
Fine, whatever. I did. That doesn't matter anymore.
Did you really just pull in, I wanted it to happen, is that wrong? You're just making yourself look more suspicious by saying that.
Because right now, Buck Castman is waiting for me to hand you over to him. And if I don't, then he comes after me. And then you, my mom, and anyone I care about.
If only there was public information regarding Fisk's crimes that would have warned Daniel that this would happen.
Matthew Murdock for the defense, Your Honors.
Kirsten seems chill about Matt's return, even though she doesn't know that he's Daredevil. This is really strange because from her perspective, Matt just disappeared for the longest time and randomly showed up again. Is she worried about what danger Matt may be in, or what caused his disappearance? Is she worried that this could catch up to their firm? Is she angry about Matt disappearing without an explanation? I don't know. This episode never explores Kirsten's reaction to her law partner disappearing, then suddenly reappearing. She's just whatever about it, which is not something the Netflix show did when Matt suddenly returned in season 3. They actually showed how shocking this is for the characters and how this affects their view of Matt.
I got these in a firefight with Daredevil and Frank Castle.
At Mr. Murdoch's apartment. Why were you there?
We were forming a welfare check.
With assault rifles and MRAT personnel carriers? Seems like a lot of hardware for a blind lawyer.
On top of this, Matt was last seen in the hospital. In fact, Kirsten should believe this because she doesn't know that Matt is Daredevil. I don't know why she doesn't bring that up, and I don't know why the task force didn't decide on a clear cover story before doing this trial. Daniel then brings BB to Buck, but then backs down when BB pushes back on him. And it seems like this episode is cementing on trying to make Daniel sympathetic and well-intentioned. I've seen people try to compare his sacrifice to Nadim's sacrifice, and these two couldn't be more different in execution. Daniel's sacrifice is built on the idea that he chooses his friendship with BB over his position in Fisk's empire, but it only becomes questionable as to why he would support Fisk in the first place, despite his very public crimes as the Kingpin. There wasn't a degree to which he had to, or at least believed he had to work with him, so that already makes it less sympathetic. Nadim's case was different because Fisk took advantage of the shortcomings in Nadim's life to make him desperate.
Fisk knows how to make people vulnerable. He got my sister-in-law's health insurance canceled. Because I didn't want my son to see me as just an average federal employee.
And he never said a damn word.
He said a damn thing because he was afraid for his family. Fisk tried to kill them all last night, and Agent Nadim is here, today, telling you everything. Wilson Fisk coerced me and a number of fellow FBI agents into aiding and abetting a criminal conspiracy.
Nadim used Fisk, but was under the knowledge that Fisk was a bad person, whereas Daniel was just a mindless sycophant. Nadim only used Fisk because he believed he could stop other criminals and boost his career so he can help his family more.
Dozens of agents had their shot at Fisk. None of them got shit, but I did. Wilson Fisk is a piece of shit. And after every time I'm in the room with the guy, I want to shower. With Fisk's intel, we beheaded the Albanian syndicate in one day. No loss of life, no injuries, no mayhem. Makes me want to throw up to admit it, but New York is safer tonight because of Wilson Fisk. If we keep him talking, Fisk will give up others. This deal will save lives.
Why would you vote for me?
Because you get shit done. You made things happen for yourself, now you'll make things happen for New York. Mayor Fisk. That's the coolest fucking thing on the planet.
Plus, Nadim did want to expose Fisk. He was willing to look for a way out. He just felt extremely limited because he was afraid for his family and the strings Fisk could pull. Daniel had no real interest in exposing Fisk. He didn't care to find a way out. At most, he cared about BB's life, but their friendship isn't even believable enough to support this. BB believes Fisk killed her uncle. Daniel believes... well, I don't know what he believes. At first he seems to believe Fisk would actually help the city, and that he would get stuff done, but then later, we learn he knows that he killed her uncle, which leads me to question why he would ever work for him if he was friends with BB. Not just because he cares for her, but also because he would want to survive. Daniel comes across as stupid and scummy, while Nadim comes across as manipulated and trapped. And Nadim's sacrifice actually pushed them towards what they needed to take out Fisk. Daniel just went to Buck's face and told him no, then died. He didn't even try to go public with everything he knows about Buck and Fisk, which would make sense if he was expecting to die anyway, which could actually work as a dying declaration, but instead...
fuck you, Buck.
Yeah, that really achieved something. So no, Daniel's sacrifice doesn't come close to Nadim's. Nothing about Daniel's story is remotely sympathetic.
What kind of person kills their own brother? The mayor's office has detailed files.
So this scene just pulled a No Way Home.
Osborne? It was all over the news.
It was never public information that Karen got her brother killed. The entire point was that she kept it to herself and had to grow the courage to open up about it. She's in this position because her father had it covered up.
You weren't there. Bernie's gonna say it was just Kevin in the car. He's gonna omit certain other details. He says we suffered enough. You'd go to prison.
So if nobody knew, if it was never on file, then how does the mayor's office have files on what happened? If there were files on what happened, then Karen should be in jail for that alone. She would literally face legal consequences for this. And setting that aside, if Fisk apparently had these files on her, why didn't he release them to the public in order to make Karen look bad? How hard is it to watch the Netflix show before making a continuation of it?
Just be grateful that they're continuing the show.
Goodbye, sir.
Did you feel powerful when you murdered James Wesley?
Why didn't Fisk publicize that either? Why did Matt go straight back to his church when Fisk tried to have him killed? That's literally where they tried to track him down beforehand. And how did Jessica know to go there? She left at the rooftop where she declared she was done, so how did she track down Matt so easily? Yeah, this episode was awful. I'd give this one a 1 out of 10 as well.
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
In episode 8 of Born Again Season 2, Matt continues the trial to defend Karen Page, but he's late because he was shot in the leg. But this never gets mentioned to the court by Matt or Kirsten, even though they almost died from the task force, and they should be able to link the shooting to the task force. But I guess they couldn't. Nobody checked the bullets at the scene, nobody checked the cameras at the parking garage, nobody checked the witnesses at the stand.
Good job.
Seems Murdoch has survived the night.
What's the point of doing this trial with Karen if he's more than willing to have Matt killed off? He clearly doesn't care if he goes full scorched earth on his enemies, so why didn't he do this with Karen to begin with? But you know, in a more controlled manner like he has before. They then try impersonating Bullseye so he kills Matt for the task force, but this would be a highly suspicious narrative since Bullseye is known to hate Fisk. Why would the public believe that this was the real Bullseye? The real Bullseye would target Fisk, not the guy trying to ruin Fisk. They could have had him pretend to be any assassin, which they really should have from the beginning instead of this dumb assassination attempt in the last episode. This one is cleaner and easier. The real Bullseye then shows up to kill everyone in the room, but I don't know how he knew to go to this building specifically. He had no idea that Fisk was planning this. And enjoy all of the kills in this scene because it's a fresh reminder of the consequences of Matt letting Dex go and saying this to him.
Now go, disappear, die, I don't care.
So great job, Matt. Now pay close attention to this dialogue here because it's going to open up a whole bunch of issues to go over.
Are you aware that the Northern Star is smuggling illegal arms into New York City via the free port that is owned by the Fisk Industries Trust?
Murdoch, there are things I can say in here that will ruin your life.
Through evidence, testimony, and your own statements, we have determined that Daredevil was on the Northern Star.
It's safe to say.
So, if only we could ask him what he witnessed that night.
Now this is where Matt tries to deliver evidence against Fisk, even though he could have brought a camera onto the Northern Star or have Jessica Jones photograph what's in the warehouse where they kept those illegal weapons. If Daredevil and Jessica Jones were smart, they would have already had evidence to present, but let's see what they opt for instead.
You don't get to know what comes through our port. All you need to know is that I'm running this city and it's thriving.
You didn't have a lie prepared. Not even after Daredevil witnessed what was in there? There was no cover story he even thought of in case this was ever put into question? I thought Fisk was meant to be smart. That's at least what the Netflix series showed me.
We've established there was another witness on that boat, haven't we? A witness who in fact is in this courtroom today. You and I both know who Daredevil is. He's the man who knows exactly what happened on the Northern Star. He knows exactly what happened in my apartment, and he knows exactly who the real criminal in this courtroom is. Isn't that right? I am Daredevil.
What have you done?
But no, it's genius. He needed to reveal himself in order to win the case. Also, this is way better than the I Am Iron Man scene. You're just hating us, Kay. You just fucking hate us!
Not even this garbage episode subscribed to that. The very next minute, Matt outlines how he didn't even need to testify himself.
Miss Jones and myself then witnessed Fisk arm his private militia, aka the task force, with said weapons, which we then destroyed in the interest of public safety. Fisk smuggling is a criminal act. Arming the task force with smuggled weapons is a criminal act. Enough evidence has been provided to charge Fisk with these crimes.
Jessica Jones doesn't have a secret identity. She could have testified the task force was using illegal firearms and held them in a warehouse. You don't even need Daredevil to testify. All you needed was Jessica Jones. Even then, you didn't even need her testimony if all you needed was an alive witness. They try to write off the video of the crewmate because he currently isn't alive to be in court.
The man's not even present in court. The witness we just heard from is not in court. As such, his testimony remains immaterial.
Yet that doesn't apply to the testimony of Angela's aunt. Why not play that for the court? court? Why not have every single person who was kidnapped testify? Not to mention that Charles flipped on Fisk. Did he have no plan to take him down? Did Jessica never think to convince him to testify against Fisk out of revenge? What about Dex's confession? He could corroborate so many of Fisk's crimes by this very logic. This could have been his one good deed. There was never a need for Daredevil specifically to testify. So good job, Matt. You doxed yourself for literally no reason.
Kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
And another thing, if Daredevil testifying is enough on its own, then why didn't he recount every last crime he saw Fisk committing? Like where he admitted to killing Elena Cardenas. This is dumb enough on its own, but let's see if this terrible legal strategy actually results in success.
Daredevil or not, Mr. Murdoch is right. In light of the evidence, the corroborated testimony, Miss Page's crimes, if they even are crimes, cannot be judged by this court.
What? What are you talking about?
That's it. No questions asked? First of all, this should not be admissible because Daredevil is a vigilante. He wasn't even sworn in before saying this, but regardless, Matt just admitted that he's an illegal vigilante, which is not only a self-evident conflict of interest in the trial, not only gives the task force grounds to arrest him right now, but it also should get him immediately disbarred.
You ever stop to think what happens if you get caught? At best, you'll be disbarred.
Let's not forget that in Jessica Jones, Detective Costa was removed from a case for being accused of colluding with Jessica Jones.
Department needed a fall guy.
So the one guy that's actually doing something, they take off the case.
The press accused us of colluding with powered vigilantes. I'd fit the bill.
If a powered vigilante is on the case, then this should result in a mistrial. Plus, an active lawyer can't serve as a material witness in his own case. That'd be a major conflict of interest. This would also put the validity of Matt's prior cases into question, including when he had to help Karen. And because this exposes that Matt was a vigilante this entire time, this also exposes that Matt's entire practice is illegitimate. This would undo the work he did for everyone he helped. This wouldn't have helped Karen at all. If anything, it would reaffirm the credibility of Fisk claiming that Karen is colluding with a vigilante, which is a crime.
You ever stop to think what would happen if you went to jail? You really think that anyone would believe that I didn't know what you were doing? That Karen didn't know?
Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you?
A really good one.
And Jessica Jones would also be exposed through this testimony for aiding Daredevil and acting as a vigilante. Their actual defense against Fisk accusing Karen of a crime is to admit to a series of very serious crimes under oath.
I'm a really good lawyer. Yeah, I could say I'm Captain America, but it doesn't put wings on my head.
Second of all, nobody has any information on how Matt's powers work. Did he lie about being blind? Is he blind but has additional aids to help him perform as Daredevil? They don't even ask any questions and just accept this information. Matt being Daredevil changes the trial completely, and the nature of his blindness can affect how credible his witness testimony even is. Third of all, the references Matt brings to court either amounts to hearsay or a he said she said situation, which is generally inadmissible in court. This was a huge restriction in the Netflix show, but there are exceptions to the rule.
A dying declaration is exempt from the hearsay rule.
This is admissible in court.
Every damn word. It's the silver bullets to take down Fisk.
You can't even give this exception to Matt or the crewmate because neither of them believed they were going to die, so it's nothing compared to Nadim's dying declaration that somehow...
It's why my husband was acquitted.
I just can't wait for Daredevil Born Again Season 3 to come out, just so it can open with the whole Northern Star scandal, Daredevil, all that, it's why Fisk was acquitted. And to be clear, smuggling weapons is not even close to as bad as murder, or framing someone for murder, or any of the things Nadim talked about in his video. But his video somehow causes Fisk's acquittal. It's unreal how broken this all is. And I don't know how Jessica Jones is allowed into the courtroom or to even walk away freely. She's a vigilante. She just admitted to such through Matt's testimony, I guess. Why didn't Fisk just out Matt as Daredevil from the beginning? He can use the video he had in Season 3 as evidence, and this would make Matt incapable of taking the case. It would get him disbarred before he can do anything. Now here's what's even crazier. The task force is strong in numbers, as shown in the Born Again finale, and has effective firepower already. They really don't need to obtain illegal weapons when their task force is already sufficient. So why did he even need to bother with this illegal weapon smuggling when he already has sufficient weaponry? And even if he needed these illegal weapons, he's able to change the law. He did so to make all vigilante activity illegal, and he's somehow able to bypass warrants and due process. So why didn't he just change the law to make those weapons legal, under the justification of how powerful vigilantes could be? Or just make contracts with the military under the justification that he needs to take on greater threats like superpowered vigilantes? He didn't need to take a huge risk here. This entire weapon smuggling plotline is built on Fisk being the biggest moron ever.
Welcome to the 110.
The Attorney General has filed charges against you for racketeering, smuggling, corruption. At this point, it's a dictionary. Your assets have been frozen, and the Freeport is under government control. Then there's attempted murder. against a government official. Your assassin lived. He has a lot to say.
Why didn't the governor come forward and offer any of this evidence to the stand? It would have entirely prevented the need for Matt to reveal his identity. If the assassin spoke up, he should be called in to make sworn statements. All of that would have incriminated Fisk under the logic the show is using.
Murdoch's coming out. Prepare the shot. Repeat, prepare to take the shot.
Why would you say this? If you all knew how Daredevil's powers work, which they should, because Fisk knows to speak quietly to get his attention, then you should know that Daredevil can hear this. Why deliver the command so close to him?
Sorry, pal. Wrong bullseye.
Sir, it's a trap.
Why did Bullseye give them a heads up? Why didn't he just take the shot immediately when he's sniping from a very limited space? Also, the shot indicates that the bullet was going to hit his stomach area. Why didn't Bullseye aim for the head? Fisk is known to wear protective armor, and since Matt survived the same shot, he should know that Fisk can as well. Also, why didn't he shoot again? He didn't use any other bullets? Why is he repeating the same mistake from the last season? So after that disaster of a scene, we never see any significant characters reacting to Daredevil's identity reveal. Nothing from Mahoney, nothing from Kirsten. It's barely talked about when this should be a very big deal in Matt's circle. This changes everything. But I guess we gotta rush the plot line so the war with Fisk can happen.
We are under siege. As we speak, our enemies are assembling, masked, hidden, and they're coming for all of us. I will stand and fight. Will you?
He's asking for a war.
Okay, where's Spider-Man?
I am going on vacation.
Where's Iron Fist? Where's Kate Bishop? Where's the Punisher? Fisk is declaring war on the city, and all we see are Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and a bunch of Daredevil fans?
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
You call in the National Guard, you're giving him exactly what he wants.
No, it provides protection against the task force because they're strong in numbers, and the city needs a line of defense to fall back on. I don't see how that's a bad idea, especially since Fisk is known for initiating a war when he thinks he's cornered. He did just that in Season 1, which got a bunch of cops killed.
Go do your job.
Murdoch's not alone.
Well, if you're feeling challenged by your responsibilities, feel free to tender your resignation.
Why would anyone have a compelling reason to stay onto the task force by this point? Fisk is already being exposed for numerous crimes. They'll be up against vigilantes who are more powerful than them. Someone like Spider-Man or Luke Cage can show up. They can look bad for still associating with Fisk after the trial. They can get outnumbered by Daredevil fans. There's no compelling reason anyone would have to help Fisk at this point. They're not gaining anything. Their jobs are about to be illegitimized. Even for a selfish person, there's no personal reason to help Fisk by this point. I mean, there never really was in the first place, but it's even worse this time around.
Tell him about Hector Ayala.
No, my husband wouldn't kill police.
Why would Angela's aunt be okay with her showing up there? She was previously shown to be concerned by Angela getting involved. She literally thinks Hector died because he chose to be the White Tiger, something she thought was a reckless decision. So why is she okay with her niece doing the same thing?
You told me Ayala pushed him off the platform.
I told you to shoot that guy. He's one of ours. He's not one of ours. He's one of them.
Cole decides to attack Powell for this and questions their methods now, and I'm really confused as to where this character arc came from. He already knows that the family believed Hector was innocent. Hector won the trial based on the evidence Matt provided. So if he's an honest person who will question when the task force is doing wrong, then why didn't he question this then? Why did he agree to kill Hector? And if being told to kill their own was enough to turn him against Powell, why didn't he turn against Powell when he knew he killed Officer Saunders and lied about it? I guess that wasn't enough to turn him against the task force. Enough that he's willing to have himself arrested. Didn't he want to rejoin out of revenge?
Come on back in, man. Look, after what they've done, I'm owed some get back, brother.
So why is he opposed to shooting people down who stand with Daredevil?
Let him in. Let him in.
When did he get over his desire for revenge? So much that he's willing to go to jail? That's never explained. It's also never explained why all of these corrupt cops, who are complicit in kidnapping and murder, automatically switch up because Cole stood up to Powell. So the corrupt and fascist task force just gives up their power and corruption, and even turns themselves in because one corrupt cop stood up against Powell? Not only is this a rushed and nonsensical change, but this ends up giving a horrible message, and unironically, makes this propaganda. You can't change an entire corrupt task force or a corrupt system by having one corrupt cop randomly change and start helping people. Even a good cop like Mahoney couldn't single-handedly fix the system. The original show understood this. Even in Born Again Season 1, Commissioner Gallo standing up to Fisk and being killed wasn't enough to change the task force. If anything, it spooked them into complicity. But all of a sudden, they care when other cops are being targeted by Powell? This random group of corrupt and fascist officers just changing for no reason is blatantly propaganda.
It's the office of the AG. Final offer, he says, tender your resignation and leave the city. Renounce your citizenship, go into exile, and the AG promises not to prosecute.
Why? He should be prosecuted. There's no reason to let him off. He's been getting out over and over again for years, and nobody learned their lesson?
You didn't learn your lesson last time. That's cool.
We can give you a refresher course.
Well, the state of New York isn't gonna make the same mistake. Everyone knows his game now. Fisk won't manipulate the system again.
The reason given by the show seems to be that his task force will retaliate. What's their plan if the task force refuses? Are you going to get all of them to agree to the deal as well, even though they'll be prosecuted? That's not happening. After this, Fisk attacks random people using his super strength. If that's not murder, then it's at minimum battery, but I guess they won't prosecute for that either.
All those casualties will be forgotten.
Also, this should be a major controversy in the city. Fisk has killed so many people, even that night. The victims that were affected by this would want justice. The public would be outraged by the Attorney General just letting Fisk off for his crimes.
Fisk put a lot of my brothers and sisters in the ground, and none of us have forgotten that.
All those casualties will be forgotten.
If it was someone in your family who was harmed by Fisk, or anyone else you cared about, would you just accept that deal?
No! It's just dumb.
And even setting that aside, Fisk can just become a problem again if he's not prosecuted for his crimes. A large selling point for Foggy running as the DA is that Fisk was being led up by law enforcement, which almost made Blake Tower lose the election. Also, where is Bullseye during this fight? Why doesn't he try to kill Fisk? He should want to, for reasons the show has probably forgotten about by now. It'd be cool if he dressed up as Daredevil just to sneak in a killing blow. Daredevil sees his fans running up to fight Kingpin. Why doesn't he use his billy club to reach the platform quicker? Why doesn't Jessica jump up there first so nobody else takes the hits from Fisk? Now we're at the scene that supposedly tops the I beat you scene, which is already impossible given the many issues that lead up to this moment. But okay, let's see it.
It's over for both of us. Take the deal.
Take the deal? No. You should want him to go to prison. If he gets off on his crimes, he can do the same things he did before. Everyone he killed in Season 3 was because he was slowly let out of prison. And that's why Foggy mentioned that he would be under tighter restraints the next time. Did you forget about that?
It's not gonna be the same this time. They're gonna throw him in some supermax hole where he can't compromise anybody.
So if this happens, then Fisk will have less chances to squeeze his way out of this. Escaping punishment is what Fisk thrives off.
You go to prison, you die locked away from her memory.
What are you talking about? Going to prison is the better way to ensure that he can't repeat what he did. What kind of message is this episode trying to tell us? That it's better to let some people off for their crimes because they might be locked away from the memory of someone they loved? Who's dead?
You're saying the lives of a billion strangers are more important than my loved ones?
That's an awful message. That's never a reason to let a fascist and mass murderer off, because you're implicitly telling us that someone like Fisk is above the law.
That's the bullshit that people like Fisk want you to believe. Nobody's above the law. The only thing powerful enough to take down scumbags like him is the law.
This message was entirely ignored by Born Again.
Well, you do what you do and this whole thing starts over again.
The entire reason Fisk can do what he does to start this over again is because he was let off. That's how he operates. That's how he's always operated.
The poison, the fight, death.
Which happens every time Fisk is let out of prison. Do you get it now?
What about Grace? I believe you love this city same as me. We have the opportunity to give it peace.
Oh, you believe that? Do you really believe that? Okay, well, let's take a look at what happens when Fisk doesn't get his way.
This city doesn't deserve a better tomorrow! It deserves to drown in its filth! It deserves people like my father!
This is my city, my family.
What happened to this Daredevil? We went from Matt Murdock to Mike Mudrock.
All right, I'll call you Mike.
These two are not the same characters, not even close.
I accept.
It's not a hard choice for Fisk to accept this deal. What made it difficult in Season 3 was that he had to go to prison in order to protect Vanessa. Fisk giving up his position as mayor isn't as difficult of a choice because they're choosing not to prosecute him and he only has to leave his city. He can go anywhere else and do what he always does because nobody thinks to actually prosecute him. And Matt's deal in Season 3 makes sense for him because Fisk actually ends up in prison. Anything Vanessa did was banking on Fisk's empire, which is completely hindered. And not prosecuting Vanessa prevents Kingpin from leaking his identity to the world, so this is a fair compromise for Daredevil to make. In Born Again, he's just letting Fisk off for no reason, when there's no leverage Fisk has. The task force is going to prison, and if they were powerful enough to fight the charges, they'd do it regardless of Fisk's orders, but clearly they're not. And once they are in prison, there's no reason to hold up their end of the deal with Fisk. They can just lock him up from there. This deal does not work. And because we're not done with the problems in the show, we're gonna have to talk about Karen and Matt being fine with Matt going to prison, because Matt allowing himself to go to prison is character assassination. I hope you're happy, Madvocate. As a parting gift for criticizing The Flash for this, God has decided the same fate for your goat.
What gets Matt arrested? Is it just because he's Daredevil?
Yep, and he lets it, he pulls a Flash Season 4. He lets it happen. Doesn't even go into hiding or anything.
He also does it while just letting Bullseye roam free.
Oh, fuck no.
and we're running.
Don't run.
So what should Daredevil have done instead? Well, he shouldn't go out in public. He knows this would draw attention. He should be in hiding like he was in Season 3 and Born Again Season 2. And why is this important? Because if Matt gets arrested, he can't be Daredevil, and Daredevil can't protect and inspire his city. If he's in jail, then he can't stop Bullseye, who is currently still out there. If Fisk returns, then he can't stop him either. His career as Daredevil is over.
If I take a night off, people get hurt.
He believes that being Daredevil is his God-given purpose. He wouldn't give up just to face legal consequences.
Sometimes law isn't enough. Well, I couldn't do anything to help that little girl, but I could.
I know you're not going to stop.
Not until this city is safe from people like Fisk. I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now. I realized that if my life had turned out any differently, that I would never have become Daredevil. And although people have died on my watch, people who shouldn't have, there are countless others that have lived. Maybe it is all part of God's plan. Maybe my life has been exactly as it had to be.
You're telling me Daredevil would just give up and get himself arrested?
No! It's just dumb.
To say that Matt Murdock has been character assassinated has pretty much lost meaning by this point, because of how many times he has been character assassinated. It happened so many times that I'm not sure what character is left to assassinate. He's utterly destroyed by Born Again. Also, if Matt gets arrested for being a vigilante, why doesn't Jessica get arrested for aiding and abetting him? Why doesn't any superhero who went against the Accords go to prison then? Why does this only apply to Matt? I thought the Safer Streets initiative was undone. Spider-Man Brand New Day, you have a lot of explaining to do. Luke Cage shows up again, and they reveal that Jessica and Luke are parents now. With this in mind, it's pretty irresponsible to leave Jessica alone with the kid during a time New York is being taken over by Fisk. While she was taken out of their jurisdiction, that doesn't mean they wouldn't come after vigilantes like her, especially since Fisk is known to bend the law to his benefit. I can't accept that Luke was overseas doing work as an explanation, because this doesn't detail what work he was doing and why it was worthwhile to literally put his wife and child at risk without his protection during a time Fisk is ruining New York. Jessica even stated that it was sketchy. Did Luke choose not to trust his wife, despite her being a private investigator, making it her job to notice these things?
A while ago, Sky called. Obviously agency. Obviously sketchy as hell. He was interested in people like us. I told him to fuck off. Not everyone I know did.
I am the only one that can connect you with Luke.
For all he knows, this could be a play to target his family. So why would Luke willingly abandon Jessica, his kid, and his city to do work for a suspicious character? Wasn't a major contention in Jessica Jones Season 1 that Luke felt abandoned by Jessica?
Figured you were blowing me off.
I wouldn't just bail on you.
You've done it before. Guess I should get used to you bailing on me.
I guess Luke is fine with doing the same while he has the responsibility of being a father. It also doesn't help that barely anything was achieved with Jessica as a character. She doesn't serve a purpose outside of standing up to Fisk, which is nice and all, but she doesn't really have an arc or moments that explore her character in a way that impacts the narrative. She's kinda just there because she has to be, and doesn't add much to the story. Mitchell Ellison is back, and he decided to hire BB for the Bulletin. I don't know why he's doing that when she helped Fisk win the election, and allowed stupid propaganda pieces onto the BB report. I also don't know what he was doing this entire time.
This fight belongs to every person in Hell's Kitchen, so I intend to keep fighting.
Also, we're shown an article written by Ben Urich about Wilson Fisk, but the entire point in Season 1 was that Ben was avoiding articles about him because they could get him into trouble, and he wanted to be absolutely sure that the story would be effective. That's why he deleted the doc he made on Fisk once he went public, because it ran counter to his article pointing out how he's in the shadows. Fisk was prepared for something like this, and before he could officially expose Fisk on his blog, he was killed by Fisk, so he never released an article on him. It's telling how much they paid attention to the original show when major plot details like this from said show are completely ignored. Charles then brings Bullseye to his whatever team that they never explain in the show. Why would he bring Bullseye when he's very unpredictable and is extremely violent? Why would he trust Bullseye? How is Bullseye even able to attend this flight when he's a well-known assassin? Almost everyone would recognize him and call the cops immediately. Why is Bullseye okay with leaving when he didn't kill Fisk yet? They also never explained what happened with Valentina. Did she pull her support from Fisk? If so, why didn't she send the new Avengers after him? If not, then why didn't she pull her support? Wouldn't Charles have told her about this since he stepped in to help Fisk in the first place? Fuck! And then Heather wants to become the new Muse, even though she spent an entire season hating vigilantes and grouped Muse with them. I'm beyond trying to understand her character. Her characterization is so random and disjointed, it's just a mess to think about. So that's the end of the episode. Yeah, I don't care anymore. This was a 0 out of 10 for writing. Literally, none of this worked. Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is even worse than Season 1. The writing for the season is a 1 out of 10 at best. That may sound like an exaggeration, but after everything I've talked about here, what exactly is working about the show as a whole? There's not a whole lot I can actually give credit to. In a general sense, it's very clear that the season was rushed. 8 episodes to wrap up the Mayor Fisk plotline? Yeah, at some point this was going to feel crammed, and it certainly was, resulting in so many character arcs and plotlines being rushed. It feels like complete whiplash compared to the Netflix show, and I know people are going to say that the show was never going to reach the heights of the Netflix show, so we should stop comparing them. But that's one of the greatest sins committed by the show. It had every reason to at least match or outmatch the quality of the original show, because the technology has improved, the budgets have increased, and the creators have more experience to understand what worked or didn't work about the Netflix era. And as long as there's a thorough rewatch and exploration of the material they're building from, it would have been a worthwhile continuation. The problem is that I get the sense that the original shows weren't even rewatched before finalizing the entirety of Born Again. The planning wasn't careful, resulting in the many problems we see in the show. Daredevil is dead to me because everything I loved about the show is botched by this show. Everything that meaningfully made the original show hold up is destroyed by Born Again. Everything meaningful about Daredevil as a character is assassinated by this show. The big difference between the original show and Born Again is that the Netflix show will stand the test of time. That's why people wanted it to return so badly, because they wanted Marvel to revitalize the energy in that show. But due to Born Again's failure to do that, this will not stand the test of time compared to the Netflix show. Its stories won't stand out as much because it's too busy giving a tired, worse retreading of what the previous show already achieved and succeeded in, with some attempts to shoehorn fan service so people have a reason to keep watching. But in the long run, Born Again won't be remembered the same as the Netflix series, and will likely become discarded as the continuation we'd rather forget. And that, to me, isn't saving Daredevil. It's exactly what killed him, which is why after Season 2 worsened what was already done, I have zero hope for Season 3, and because of the damage done by Season 2 and its inability to fix what went wrong, Daredevil stays dead to me.